Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. Welcome to another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper-gig speeds. Say hello to the Walkers, a family of not one but 4 Gagillionaires, each living up their Gagillionaire life at ludicrous internet speed. First up, Anna Walker. She dominates streaming like the matriarch she is. No show ever goes unwatched under her watch.
Next episode.
Next up, Peter Walker. There's no stopping this dad bod from showing up to his virtual workout sessions.
Let's go leg day.
And finally, the Walker twins. They may look alike but couldn't internet more differently. Harry dominates his fellow online gamers while Heather group video chats with friends.
Ooh, nice background filter, Jess.
Live like a Gagillionaire. Get internet that upgrades everything. AT&T Fiber, now with speeds up to 5 gigs.
Limited availability in select areas. Speeds not guaranteed. Single device wired speed. Max 4.7 gig per second. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
So much. Get the radio sign started. Noble Patrick, I appreciate you donating in on the super chat as well. Thank you. And Christina Gomez, welcome and thank you, my beautiful friend. And for that super chat, we will return the favor. I promise. I promise. And let's hold on here. By the way, Christina, I wonder, did you hear about Monday? Monday, I'm going on with Jimmy Church on Monday, and then right after Jimmy's done his show, he's coming here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to do like a little bit of a crossover, so it's going to be really, really cool. I've never talked to Jimmy for that long before. So let's see, who else is here that we got? Steve Wolf, nice to have you here. Connor from Bigfoot Anonymous, how are you? And we are like 5 seconds. Gorgeous Divine Diamond, you're the last one. Do me a favor, friends. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show and our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of cryptids tonight. D.A. Roberts, Nick Valente are here to talk about their personal quests looking for Dogman with the North American Dogman Project. In hour number 3, we will head over to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is going to tell us another spooky story. Super Duke is back with the Cryptid Report. We got Shirky Poo's news and the Thought of the Dave. Here we go. D.A. Roberts and Nick Valente are here tonight to talk about the legendary Dogman. What is it? What is this creature doing? Why is it scaring people? Is it telepathic? Is it a werewolf where humans actually transform into these big, hairy beasts? What we do know is that this creature is being seen right around North America. What exactly it is, we don't really know. But these gentlemen are on the hunt. They are part of a pack called the North American Dogman Project that is searching for answers, for clues, for whatever this may be in order to try and bring reality from the fascinating and the mysterious. D.A. Roberts, it's been a while since we had you on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, my friend? Oh, we got you on mute there. I'll unmute you there. There we go.
It has been a while. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, well, I'm still haven't figured out the mute button yet, but we're glad to have you back. And of course, Nick Valente, you were on about a month ago here, and your hair is looking perfect once again. Very high and tight. Very high and tight. Gentlemen, you're both part of the North American Dogman Project, and I just met Nick a few months ago. But DA, you and I go back about 5.5, 6 years as you became a fictional writer with the Ragnarok series, and now you've kind of turned that entire fiction into working with the North American Dogman Project. I'm curious, my friend, what made you go from being a fiction writer to getting into the field of investigation?
Well, I've been into cryptids pretty much since I was a kid. But I within the last couple of years, I had to medically retire from being active law enforcement, and now I don't have to be quiet about it anymore.
Well, that's good. I didn't know that you retired, man.
Well, I had a bad back injury. We'll just put it that way, and not really go into that in too terribly much detail because it's just something I had to learn to live with. So I can't put on the body armor and duty belt anymore. So I'm writing full time and digging more into cryptids, and now I don't have to worry about anybody giving me crap about it since I'm not a cop anymore.
Well, explain how you got tied into the North American Dogman Project and guys like this guy here, Nick Valente.
Well, like you know, I've been fascinated by cryptids since I was a kid back in the 70s. But it wasn't all that long ago, a couple of years back, that Nick and I started talking because of my book series, the Apex Predator series, which talks about Dogman. And then I had... shall we say, I don't know if I could really label it an encounter, kind of an encounter after the fact. We didn't realize until much later that we'd captured something on video. And when I sent the images and the video to Nick, he immediately identified it as, what was it, a Type 3 Dogman, Nick?
3, yeah.
And him and I just kind of hit it off from there. We've been to LBL together now, and we've been... we're looking into getting more into mischief this as the weather warms up this year too.
Yeah,
Nick, I want to bring you in here because DA's former law enforcement, your former law enforcement. Bringing in people such as yourselves who know how to investigate, who know what to look for, how to look for clues, how to look for evidence. How important is it when you go into these subjects, Nick, with that former law enforcement background, to be able to decipher what is going on in the wildness of the forests?
Well, Dave, it allows us, through our experience, our training, to actually, tell the difference between a regular animal and a cryptid's footprints, for instance. A regular, like a bear slash on a tree versus a dogman's claw slash on the tree. We look at the little things. Through our training, we know where to look. We know what to expect out there. Most people will, go out into the forest, in the woods, and, with a cell phone instead of a flashlight, a little backpack with maybe a bottle of water and some food. We're out there with equipment, in order to search down for footprints, in case somebody's bit by a snake or a spider or attacked by a bear or a coyote. We have the first aid kits that we carry with us. We also carry bear spray and other things that you would want to have out there in case you are attacked. We don't go out there to hunt. We go out there to field investigate and to find. But you all also are, you have the right to return home safely. So we have other items that we carry with us to safeguard ourselves. People think it's just easy. You go out 3 miles into the woods and, it's it's just not, if you're really serious about what you do, you really have to go out there prepared is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, and, that's one thing I learned, moving from the Vancouver area up north to where I did in central British Columbia, because you don't understand what it's like to be in the wild. And to this day, I've been up here 6 years. To this day, I'm getting better at it, but I still don't understand. What do I do if all of a sudden a badger comes at me, or a mountain lion, or a grizzly bear, or something along those lines? I mean, look, I see deer and bears running down my street here, and it's fantastic. It's beautiful. But when you are face to face with a creature, and we're not even talking anything cryptid yet here, guys. We're talking just a creature here that we know of. I mean, 99% of us have no clue how to react to those situations, Nick.
Most people are going to freeze. And in those few seconds, your life is on the line there. A grizzly bear, for instance, up where you are, a grizzly bear can go from 0 to 50 miles an hour, and people can check this out. All you have to do is go on the internet. In like 3 seconds, it's that strong. It's that big. You're out there, you're wandering around, and you step down on a spot of land, and there's a poisonous snake. It shoots out, bites you. What are you going to do? A coyote, they don't really like humans that much, and they will attack you. A mountain lion, oh my God. Somebody that's face to face with a mountain lion, they're going to be really scared. That's why I really push that, if you don't have the firearms with you to defend yourself, you should really have at least bear spray, in the least, and learn how to use it. Learn how to use the bear spray. Don't just buy it and then go, oh, I'm out here. There's a little tab you got to slip off before you can point, aim, and shoot it. Against a badger, against a bear, it'll work. It'll actually work. And I'm hoping that, if I ever have to defend myself against a cryptid, a Sasquatch, a Dogman, and the like, I'm hoping it'll work. Because if it can breathe and if it can see, I'm saying that pepper is going to burn its eyes and give me a chance to defend myself.
Well, and that's exactly it, is being prepared and being with people. There's still people I don't understand how they go into the forest these days alone. I never would, and that's just with the creatures I do know.
Exactly.
DA, yeah. You've been around enough guns, and you've been around enough spooky areas here with hunting with the North American Dogman Project to know that the forest is not a safe place, even at the best of times.
Oh, that's absolutely a fact. Even here in Missouri, where we don't have grizzlies, we still have plenty of black bear. We have mountain lion. Then there's the human element. There are people, believe it or not, there are people even out in the woods that might seek to do you an injury. The world's just not a safe place anymore. Be able to defend yourself, and make sure you take a med kit, because I've said it on my own show, the life you save could very well be your own.
That's correct.
It reminds me, I have 2 Sasquatch gifting sites, and the one I've had for about 5.5 years. And a couple years ago, I literally walked in. I know exactly where to go, take my trail, find it, and then we kind of went looking around. There was like 4 of us there. We were kind of looking around, trying to, see if there was anything else on the ground. And all of a sudden, I looked up, and I had no clue where I was. And this is an area I had been to probably 100 times. I'm very familiar with the trees where they should be, and all of a sudden everything looked different. And I didn't. No, I had 4 other people with me, and the only way that I was able to regain my senses was that I had heard a vehicle coming up the logging road, and we were only about 150 yards off the maybe not even, maybe 60, 70 yards off of the logging road. That's it. 60 to 70 yards away from my vehicle, and I had no clue of all of a sudden where I was.
Yeah, it sounds like you got hit by infrasound. From the Sasquatch.
It's possible.
To me.
Well, you don't even need anything that out of the ordinary. I mean, sometimes the woods are just so dense you can get turned around in a matter of seconds. It's really not that difficult to do. People get off the marked trail and get lost within minutes, and they may not have the ability to find their way back to the trail. And GPS on your phone will fail you. If you don't have service, you're probably going to lose the GPS. That's why I always recommend, if you're going to spend any time in the woods, buy a compass and learn how to use it.
Mm-hmm. Or at least figure out how the sun works.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people don't understand. The sun is your best friend out there. Because when all else fails, the sun doesn't fail. Even if it's behind clouds, you can still tell where the sun is, which automatically gives you the direction of west or south or east. It's never north. Never. It's very simple, that at least up here where I am in Canada, The sun is never north. But I mean, it's just amazing how the woods can create such a horrid feeling at times, even though you feel safe, and that's just the way it is. But let's get into Dogman here, because that's the main reason why you guys are here. And in the next half hour, we will share some stories with you guys. But I mean, is it a werewolf? Is it a human shape-shifting? Is that even possible? Are we dealing with a land creature here that has been around for centuries, that has perfected camouflage in the forest? D.A., let's start with you on this one.
I think it's an existing creature. I don't think it shapeshifts. I think it's a standard creature. I mean, look back through history. There's a condition known as cynocephaly, which refers to humanoids with the head of a dog. Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus both wrote of seeing dog-headed people on islands during their journeys. Then you've got the Egyptian gods, the Anubis. You've got the Ulfhednar from Norse mythology, the wolf berserkers. And then you've got Native American legends. Some of the first Dogman type sightings in the United States that have been documented were in the 1600s by French trappers in the Tennessee River Valley.
Wow. That far back, eh?
Yes, sir.
Well, I went totally Canadian there for a second.
Yeah, I heard the A.
That far back, eh? Yeah, really. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of First Nations legends and lore that go along with this. And obviously, those are special relationships that many First Nations and Indigenous people have had to build special relationships with these creatures, whether it's Dogman, Bigfoot, the little people, gremlins, gnomes, you name it, any type of cryptid that is out there. I mean, Nick, when you look at the relationships that have been forged for over 500-600 years, if not millennia, on this continent, I mean, shouldn't we be a little bit further ahead in our research than where we are right now?
We should be, but, human nature being what it is, somebody reports it to an authority, and they're going to be, mocked. They're going to be scoffed. They're going to be looked upon as a Looney Tune. We should be. We really should be further along. But, just like today, in this day and age, I'll get anywhere from 7 to 12 reports put to my personal email or my Facebook Messenger about people having an encounter with a Dogman or another type of cryptid. And they want to keep their names out of it because they're up for a promotion at a job. They're going for a job. They live in a neighborhood, and they don't want their names to be, put in conjunction with a cryptid that doesn't exist, so they say. So there's a lot of reasons out there why we're not more advanced. People just don't want to, come to grips with the fact that they're out there. They really are out there.
Well, what makes this creature out there? How do we know where it is or where it's coming from or what it's all about, D.A.?
Well, a lot of its territories seem to overlap because they have similar food sources and hunting habits as Bigfoot. What Vega Man was saying is nobody knows for sure if it's metaphysical or flesh and blood creature. He's absolutely correct. There are no experts in this field. Same thing with Bigfoot. Anybody that claims to be an expert selling you something. There are no experts in this field. But with Dogman, the behaviors are so varied. That's why that it's commonly accepted that there are about 7 different types. Although one of those types may possibly be a Gugway, which is a type of Bigfoot.
Really? Okay. So, and I've heard Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio talk about these Gugways, and these are supposed to be a more vicious type of Sasquatch, whether they're nomad or clandestine or of the forest or whatever. I almost consider them like killer whales, okay? You have the pods of killer whales. They're not going to harm a human or rarely harm a human, but these rogue pods that have been kicked out of their own pods and had to form their own almost like violent ocean gang, these are the ones that you can't go swimming with or you can't get too close because they have no problem trying to sink your boat or something along those lines because they just don't care. Is that kind of what we're looking at here, DA?
Well, the Gugway, the word itself means face eater. It's a far more aggressive, very different looking type of Sasquatch. It has a pronounced snout, almost like a mandrill. And they're known to be very aggressive. You don't hear peaceful encounters with them. You don't hear somebody talk about they saw like one on the road and it just looked at him and went on its way. Gugway encounters are generally pretty frightening, and people generally describe them as being predatory in nature. Much the same with Dogman. You don't hear peaceful encounters with Dogman. You hear people use words like hellish or demonic. These are not friendly creatures. And a lot of the encounter stories I've collected, I've found that there's some people that have described them as approaching on all fours, and before they got up on their hind legs, they heard a popping sound, almost like the bones in the hands were rearranging, almost like its natural state is front paws, but it's able to, much like a raccoon does, a raccoon's hands, it's able to extend those digits out into hands.
One thing I asked Nick DA when he was on about a month ago is about the wariness of this creature. This creature has brought a lot of legend and folklore with it, from everything of being telepathic and telling people, get out of here, it won't be good for you, or if you fire that gun, things are not going to be good. I mean, how do we take? I know you're a real flesh and blood kind of guy. I'm more woo, and I make no bones about that. But how do you take reports like that and think to yourself, this is this person's experience, this is what they're going through? How do we know that this is the truth? How do we know that this is what this creature telepathically told them?
Right. Well, I will never be the guy that says, oh, that can't happen.
Family. It looks a little different for everyone. For some, it's mom and dad. For others, roommates who feel like family. And for others, it's your significant other, their golfing buddies, your children, a high school soccer team starting lineup, and oh look, they're all taking you up on the offer to stay for dinner, really testing the limits of that phrase, the more the merrier. But no matter where you call home, Geico makes it easy to bundle and save on home and car insurance. Easier than making 3 frozen pizzas and assorted frozen veggies into a cohesive meal.
Okay, so we have the car payment, the rent, utilities,
and the repair bill.
What should we do?
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, we could have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Because we simply don't know. This is all theoretical guesswork, basically. We're all trying to study the evidence and come to a logical conclusion. But just because somebody has had, as you refer to it, as a woo experience versus a physical experience, I won't discount any of those experiences because we simply don't know. I do tend to lean toward physical evidence because that's my background in law enforcement. What I can find and touch and feel, that's real to me. However, I think, and this is just personal theory, I've never experienced a mind speak moment, but it could be something as simple as that primitive part of your brain, what I like to refer to as the monkey brain, the primitive brain stalk telling you, like when you hear that voice in your head, run, or you need to go. I've had that moment a couple of times, and it wasn't because a mountain lion was telepathically talking to me. It was my brain going, "You need to back the hell out of here before you get killed."
And very true. I mean, I have had that little voice in the back of your head that just says, this isn't a safe situation. You need to get out of here. And Nick, have you had that before happen to you?
I haven't had any mind speak or any infrasound, anything like that. It's just from my training, I know if it's a bad situation and to go to another place. And that's basically how I would put it. You know, if I feel like I'm in danger, I'm going to take action.
Well, I mean, but that's the big thing is, how do we know? How do we all of a sudden figure out that sense that we need to get the heck out of danger, right?
Well, a lot of people will not be able to find, that sensibility to leave the area and get out of danger. A lot of people will just freeze, and then you'll have the people that will take action. I mean, everybody's different out there.
It's just basic survival instincts.
Very true. Very true. I mean, that is something that I think we all have to pay attention to when we're out there. You just have to. I mean, if you don't, bad things can happen. I know it almost killed me once. It really.
I know. I learned years ago to trust my gut, and that's something I had to develop. Working in law enforcement, is you walk into a situation, you've got to have a feel for it before you walk in, or it's going to end very badly for you.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Spaced Out Radio, talking Dogman all night long from the North American Dogman Project. D.A. Roberts, Nick Valente. We're going to get into some cryptid reports, some creatures. Let's figure out what this Dogman is, because I'll tell you, it's one cryptid that I do not want to run into, but sometimes you don't have a choice. All right. We got a lot of new people in our chat room tonight. I just want to kind of say this is a little bit different. We're not a podcast per se. We're a live radio show, so we actually do have to take commercial breaks. The good news is you guys kind of get to see behind the scenes that the radio audience doesn't. So just sit back. We're going to keep chatting here, and that's kind of what we do, and you guys get to be around for it. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's that. Hey, why not? It works. It works.
I would love to learn how to take my show to the next level the way you've done it.
God, there's still such a long road to go.
There always is.
Oh man, I got lucky on a couple. I found three of our radio stations. One we're no longer on because the guy sold it. But I had questions about how to use my my audio board. And I went in this chat room, and this guy's like, hey, man, I don't mind helping you. And, we picked up the phone. We talked for 4 hours, found out that he owned a radio station in California. And I said, hey, do you mind critiquing my show? This is what it's about. And the next day he contacted me, and he's like, this is amazing. You do this every night? I said, yeah, Monday through Friday. He's like, can I put you on the air? And,
heck yeah.
And within 2 nights, we were on the air in Ridgecrest, California. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we lucked out there.
We only go on 2 nights a week, but we go live.
The one thing that I'm very surprised with is the fact that Sirius XM hasn't caught on to the popularity of having a paranormal, supernatural, cryptid type channel. And, they have everything on there. Everything. And yet, some of the most popular radio that is bringing in major ratings and major advertising money, which is our field, they haven't even touched it yet. And that kind of surprises me.
Growing field, too.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely. But it's still Still amazes me. But what do you do?
You live and you learn anyway.
Well, I know the cost of a channel, which is in the six figures.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Had to be a heck of a Kickstarter to pull that off.
All right. Well, once I get some time, I'm going to write some letters. Because apparently that's the only way I can figure it out. But we'll get there. We will get there. Nick, you're awfully quiet tonight.
Oh, I didn't. Are we back on the air?
Not officially. We're still on YouTube right now.
Alrighty.
All right. We got about 90 seconds.
Okay.
Yes, Gypsy Road. Eddie Trunk is amazing. He really is amazing. I like Eddie Trunk. All right. Let's see here. Mark, I'm not going to open up an OnlyFans because it's just not pretty, my friend. It's just not pretty enough.
We could do a reverse OnlyFans. We're not putting our clothes on until we get this certain amount of money.
Oh, my God. Yes, Jim. April 22nd to 24th at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, we are having the SOR fan party. And on the Friday night, we are going to be all hanging out, having a few drinks and cocktails and sharing in the woo. On Saturday, we're going to meet up for some lunch. Then we're going to head on over to a conference room where we're going to do a live show with Lynn Wallington for 3 hours on YouTube. We got a bunch of cool guests coming, like Jim Goodall and Nate Rudd and Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and we got a ton of other people coming in for that. And that is the only thing we're charging for. It's $25 for that private show. And the rest of it, you're hanging out with us the entire weekend. Maybe on Sunday, if we can convince Jim, maybe we'll take a drive out to Area 51 and I'll get pictures with the signs. But here we go, everyone, with the second half hour. Let's make it happen. We're kicking off the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. From the North American Dogman Project, D.A. Roberts, Nick Valente are here. We're getting into what this cryptid creature is all about. These former law enforcement officers now use their skills going into the bushes across North America, searching for elusive creatures that should not exist, but somehow are out there. D.A., Nick, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be back.
Nick, on the average, how many reports of Dogman are you taking a week?
On the average, a report of either an encounter or a sighting, I would say it was like 15. And that comes to me via the North American Dogman Project Region 3 site, Facebook, Messenger, snail mail, and email.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? To this day, that many reports, 15 a week, that's 60 a month. I mean,
it is quite a bit. And the northeastern section of the United States over the last 8 months has become a hotbed for Dogman reports, encounters and sightings. It's absolutely amazing, all the stuff that's been happening.
Now, are these creatures encroaching on human territory because during the COVID outbreak, when we were all taking it seriously, none of us were going out in the forest. Forests were locked down. We were locked down in our houses. We couldn't go anywhere. And like I know around my area, we saw an influx of wild animals where I am. A lot more deer roaming around, bears roaming around, cats roaming around. But fast forward now, we don't see that as much. Is that the reason why we're seeing more encounters, because they're encroaching more on human territory?
Well, it's possible that during the COVID times when people were staying indoors, they noticed the trend and they felt safer to come out, that they were not going to be seen. So, I mean, that's a distinct possibility right there. But since the COVID's has sort of been, squashed a little bit, people have got their vaccinations and people are coming out more, that's probably the reason why I'm getting more calls about it. I mean, just, was it about a month and a half ago, we went up into the Poconos in Pennsylvania. I got 4 reports from around the same general area, the northern section of the Poconos in PA. And I mean, it was just something you couldn't ignore. So we had to go down there, and we did find some really, really good evidence.
All right. And how about for you, DA? What has been the biggest thing that you have noticed over the last couple of years with the reports?
I think a large portion of why we're getting more reports is the fact that the subject of cryptids has become more mainstream in the last, say, 10 years than it ever had before. You've got people coming forward from different walks of life that did not report before. You've got a lot from law enforcement. You've got stories coming in from judges, from doctors, lawyers, professional people. It's not just the proverbial hillbilly from the trailer house in the middle of nowhere that gets interviewed on TV anymore. We've got people from all walks of life, and websites like the North American Dogman Project and the BFRO and other cryptid related sites have made it far easier for people to report these incidents and still remain anonymous if they choose to. Whereas, say, 20 years ago, that just didn't exist.
Why do you think more people, DA, like you said, lawyers, doctors, people who just aren't what we would suspect, these type of reports to come from, are all of a sudden getting braver to talk about these subjects? Because for years, decades, man, it was so taboo.
Oh yeah, I think to a certain extent there's still that taboo, but the taboo is slowly breaking. It's becoming less and less of a stigma to come forward with a Bigfoot sighting, simply because we've got so many shows like Expedition Bigfoot and Finding Bigfoot. We have so many cryptid related shows. Another new one of the new ones is Alaskan Killer Bigfoot. We have so many of these cryptid shows appearing in the mainstream big networks in prime time. People are suddenly like, hey, if this can be on prime time, it's not something that we only talk about whispered around campfires anymore. We can actually tell our stories.
Nick, would you concur with that you see a lot more professional people making reports as well?
Oh, absolutely. They're coming out now, and they're still holding back because, like DA said, there is a stigma. But a lot of people, like the report that I just mentioned in Poconos and PA, the people that originally reported it to me, they own a vehicle body shop. It's a well-known vehicle body shop in the Poconos. Their car was actually attacked by a dogman on a roadway up there, and they had the slashes on the side to prove it. Also, in the same area, not 2 miles from where their body shop is, an attorney, he and his wife and his mother-in-law were driving down a roadway, and they saw a bipedal cryptid, which they described as a wolf on 2 legs running across the roadway. And then, like I said, 2 more people came forward. They're also professionals. People don't want their names mentioned sometimes, but now they're actually coming out there because they're seeing shows like yours. They're seeing sites like the NADP and other places on Facebook that are talking about this. There's just more people talking about it these days.
Is it a new curiosity? Could we drag it down to that because of the popularity of the television shows and these becoming a little bit more mainstream?
Undoubtedly, because you can turn on the TV anytime on one of your channels and bring something up. I just saw a show today on where they were talking about a Dogman on the History Channel. It was on television today, at least in the United States it was. I mean, so anytime you go out there, there's actually books that you can find. When I first started doing this with cryptids, going back decades ago, there was very little out there to find, on anything about cryptids. I mean, basically they would talk about Bigfoot, Yeti, Nessie, Champ up in Canada. I mean, those type of things. They really didn't talk very much about the Dogman, the Mothman, Goatman, cryptids like that. I mean, it just wasn't out there. There's just more media now.
Very true. And I don't usually take questions until hour number 2, but I want to get to this comment here because I think it's very relevant. Gypsy Road says, we still need to be careful because a lot of people will still make up stories just to be heard. I mean, how do you guys decipher between a real story and somebody who's just trying to get their 10 or 15 minutes of fame? DA?
Well, if you take a report in person or you talk to a person on a video channel, it's very much just back like when I was a cop. I mean, you look for body language. You watch for little tells that will tell you someone's lying. For example, if you ask somebody a question and they look down and to the right, it's pretty well dead giveaway they're making a story up. It's just little unmistakable body language ticks that people give away when they're telling a falsehood. It's no different than when you were interrogating somebody during an investigation. If you're taking an account of a Bigfoot or a Dogman story, you can a lot of times get a feel for whether or not they're being truthful.
And Nick, your opinion?
Yeah, the same thing here. Plus, I listen for the inflection in their voice. I'll ask them the same question 3 different ways, 3 different times, and I'll see what they say. Also, the fact that I've been doing this for so long, and DA, I consider him to be the Tom Clancy of cryptozoology as far as research goes, so he would know the same thing. I know there's certain things about Dogman, Sasquatch, Mothman that people have reported. And, some people will say other things or they'll leave out things when I question them. I mean, it's all about the questioning also. I get all kinds of other letters which I discard because of the fact that the way they're reporting it. And it has nothing to do with a cryptid. What they're reporting is like a regular animal that we already know. But it's in the interview. I like to look at the person. That's why I will travel to other states and try to interview the person face to face. In the least, I would like to do it on a video cam or on a telephone. And I think that's the best way. But that lady was right before. I mean, a lot of people report it just to get their 15 minutes of fame. And, they're lying. I was up in Maine a couple of years ago with a member, and we were checking out Moscow, Maine, the area over there, because there was a couple of Dogman sightings. And his next door neighbor came running over, a 17-year-old boy, and he was talking about how a Dogman, a wolf, was at the back window in his house, and he described it like a Dogman, and he was stringing him along, my member, and he found out a few days later that this kid was just pulling him along. He was just trying to string him along, just to get him, just to egg him on, because he knew what he was doing, because he knew he was into cryptozoology and investigating cryptids and stuff. So, I mean, you're going to get your people out there that are going to BS you, but when you talk to them, DA and I both have a lot of experience interviewing criminals, interviewing just regular people that are involved in a situation. And like you said, you can tell when they're just lying. Most of the time, anyway.
had a lady brought me a recording one time, and she goes, "I recorded Bigfoot behind my house." She says, "I want you to listen to this and tell me what you think." So I put my headphones in and turned the volume up pretty high and listened to it. I listened to it like 4 or 5 times before I commented on it. I'm like, "Ma'am, what you recorded is a screech owl." No, I've heard owls. I'm like, "Ma'am, I grew up in the woods of Missouri. I know what a screech owl sounds like. This is a screech owl." And she wasn't happy with the answer, and she took it to another guy who got a hold of me, and he's like, "Hey, didn't you tell this lady this was a screech owl?" I'm like, "Yeah, because it's a screech owl." When people that are unfamiliar with wildlife sounds will misidentify a lot of things. So if somebody's got a recording or a video, that's awesome. It's fantastic. I would love to check it out. But you have to approach all evidence, no matter what's video, audio, picture. You have to approach every piece of evidence with a skeptical mind, because you have to rule out what it couldn't be before you decide what it is.
Very, very true. Let's get into the science.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. It's another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper gig speeds. Meet Gagillionaire Terry. While his love of streaming horror movies has him constantly on the edge of his seat, his internet bill won't give him a scare.
Oh, don't go in there. I'm telling you.
Because since Terry upgraded to AT&T Fiber with hyper gig speeds, he doesn't worry about data caps or equipment fees.
Come on, man. The door's open for a reason.
And best yet, he also doesn't stress about a price increase at 12 months, because with the amazing Gagillionaire lifestyle comes an exquisite sense of tranquility. Most of the time. Live like a Gagillionaire. Get straightforward pricing with AT&T Fiber. Internet that upgrades everything. No data caps, no equipment fees, and no price increase at 12 months.
Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
Good things are going on.
Health. The importance of health. Blue Health. The experience of what it means to be healthy. Because taking care today leads to an even healthier tomorrow. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be healthy. It's good to be blue.
Of this, guys, because for a lot of people, we're always looking, where's the evidence? Do we have scat samples? Do we have hair samples? Do we have saliva samples, or from animals that we expect that this one has maybe torn apart, maybe DNA samples? What is out there that we don't know about this creature, Nick?
Well, as far as the samples go, I don't know if I mentioned this on your show previously, but a lot of the people in cryptozoology that are field investigators and researchers, the real hardcore people like myself and like Jody Cook and DA here, when we have samples, we're no longer going to send it to the Smithsonian. We're no longer going to send anything to the government because it's going to disappear. Like there are hair samples out there, and they're saying, well, how do you get hair samples? Well, brushing up against a tree, going through a field. They went over a fence or near a fence. There's footprints. There's claw marks. Now, I myself have studied zoology extensively. I have a couple degrees in zoology. And you have to know the real animals that we already identified out there before you can say, oh, that's a cryptid, because we don't know what it is. These days, however, instead of handing your sample in to the U.S. government or the Smithsonian, and like I said, those things just disappear and you'll never see them again. Nowadays, because of DNA sampling and testing has been made so much easier, I could go down the road to a local veterinarian. I'd have to pay for it myself to be done, but he can send out the sample at this point, because people all the time in my neighborhood, I'll say, oh, that's a cute dog. Oh, yeah, my dog is part pit bull and part German shepherd and part golden retriever. And it's like, how do you know? Oh, I went to the vet, and they tested the DNA on the dog. So nowadays you're going to see more and more people coming out with evidence and, paperwork from a veterinarian that says this is an unknown wolf-like creature, or this is a, for a better word, a Sasquatch, type creature. The more they get testing these things, the better the sample that you're going to have out there, the sampling rather.
The problem still is trying to find a veterinarian or a scientist who could take this seriously, because I think that would be the struggle. I mean, we see that in the Bigfoot world, that there are very few academics in the field of anthropology or the field of DNA or anything like that are actually taking on these types of cases.
Well, serious or not, if I go to my local veterinarian and I hand him hair samples and I say, listen, I found this in my backyard. Here, I'm paying you my $150. Please test this for me. He's going to send it to a lab that has millions and millions of different types of samples out there already, in their data bank. And when they test it and it comes back unknown wolf-like creature, well, there you go. That's going to be added to the data bank. They don't have to take it seriously. All they have to do is take my dollars, and they're going to test it for you. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no longer this lack of places to go to get things tested. In the past, you couldn't give a tooth sample or a hair sample to the Smithsonian and get an answer from them. If I take a hair sample or a tooth sample to a veterinarian nowadays, who I know will do DNA testing, I'll get my answer. As simple as that.
Is it that simple, DA?
Well, one of the big obstacles that people will find is paying for those tests, because they're not cheap. But lots of evidence has been collected over the years. Sometimes the samples get tested and the sample is too degraded to test, and that falls back to most people just don't know how to properly collect evidence. And that's where I think the NADP is doing it right, because most of us are ex-law enforcement. We know how to collect evidence and to preserve it. We know about chain of custody. We know how to make sure that there's no chance it's going to get contaminated, because you keep a control sheet of who's had access to it. If it's something that's got any moisture to it at all, you don't want to store it in plastic, because if you put it in a Ziploc bag, it's just going to mildew. So it's not just about collecting the genetic samples or the DNA samples or whatever you're finding. It's a matter of collecting it correctly, so your sample doesn't degrade before you can get it tested.
And that's why we put out a manual, to our serious members. I've got a 172-page manual here, Dave, and it does, detail how to collect those samples, what to look for. And like DA says, you don't just put it into a plastic bag. Generally, I carry wax-backed paper bags with me to put samples in, and that's about the best way to do it.
I've built a kit very similar to a crime scene kit. And that's basically what you've got to treat it like. You've got to make sure you're wearing gloves so you don't contaminate it with your own DNA. You've got to make sure you're storing it properly so it doesn't get contaminated or mildew. If you're going to, for example, most people think that if you find a track in the woods, you just pour some plaster of Paris in it and wait till it hardens and bingo bango. There's more to properly casting a track than just pouring plaster of Paris in it. If it's a big track, you're going to want to reinforce it. You might want to put like strips of wire in it, or it's like chopsticks work great. You want to reinforce the track, because sometimes when you try to get it out of the ground, it just crumbles. There are better casting materials available than plaster of Paris, but that's the old reliable that a lot of people keep in their kit. So it's not just a matter of, hey, I found this, I'm going to grab it, and suddenly I've got proof of Bigfoot. It's knowing how to collect the evidence, how to preserve the evidence, and keep it in a proper storage until such time as you can have it tested. Because just throwing something in a Ziploc bag is probably not going to work, especially if it's got any moisture to it at all.
Okay.
Also, when we're out there, we know better than to trample the area and to pollute the area. I carry crime scene tape and pieces of wood to pop down into the ground so that I can rope off the area so nobody pollutes it. I'll take pictures from different angles before I even put a cast on a footprint, for example. I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to know before you go into an area and you take a sampling. So at least you're taken more seriously when you do come home with the sample.
For people, though, that are like me, okay, amateurs, we may not know what we're looking for, but, it's amateurs like us that just seem to come across that weird track or that weird landing place where something may be sleeping or carvings in trees or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. What do we need to do? What do we need to know? Because we're not going to know to carry everything that you guys carry. So help us out and let me know, as we got about 2.5 minutes here, DA, about what we should be doing in case we encounter something like this.
Well, with NADP, we're getting ready to do a series of videos on proper evidence collection, on how to properly cast tracks and things like that. So look for those coming soon at NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com and also on my YouTube channel, DA Roberts Author. Also, if you're going to just be stumbling across evidence, like you were saying, Dave, if you don't know how to cast it or you don't know how to collect it, digital cameras and the phones, images on your phone are your best friend. But always put something in this picture for scale. If you happen to have a little ruler, that's perfect because you've got exact markings. But something of a known size, like a coin or a pocket knife or a comb or a set of glasses, something of a known set of dimensions that you can always maintain, and take pictures from every angle as much as you can.
How about you, Nick? What's your best piece of advice?
Well, yeah, the cell phone is the amateur's best friend. However, like you said, make sure you put something next to, like the footprint. I mean, say you don't have anything in your pocket. You could even put your own hand next to it and take a picture. Put your shoe next to it because you know it's a size 12. People should go out there with some sort of a backpack with something in it. If you're going out there with the mindset that you want to do a little bit of field research, and field investigation. I mean, if you're going out there and you just happen upon something, preserve the area as best you can. Take photos from different angles, yes. And like I said, preserve the area and maybe come back and get somebody that does know about it. I would say people who, if you're have any interest in it, do some reading on it. And by all means, do look at the different YouTube channels on collecting like that, when you're in the field, collecting evidence.
Well, comment of the night so far goes to Lenita here, who says, DA is a brilliant author. Try reading his cryptid books.
Thank you, Lenita. You're awesome.
That's just awesome. I love comments like that. Gentlemen, when we come back from the break here at the top of the hour, I do want to get into, how do we know we're in an area where there is Dogman or Bigfoot? How do we know that we've crossed paths? What are the signs we need to be looking for? But I also want to hear your stories as well, because obviously you guys have done a lot of investigating. You've heard a lot of encounters. You obviously have your favorite encounters that you can share with us. And, of course, we're going to get to some audience questions as well. Nick Valente, D.A. Roberts from the North American Dogman Project. We're searching for Dogman here. This is something that just absolutely scares the daylights out of me each and every time we talk about it, but I love it just so damn much. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. All right, we're clear.
Cool. Yeah, overbuilt automotives comment, seduced by a dog lady. I had no choice in the matter. Just correct me up.
Oh, yeah.
Is that your sister-in-law there, DA, Juanita?
No, she does. She's a regular on our show. Very, very awesome lady. One of the comments I just saw, God, man, went way back up there. Joe Monk said, "Don't beat on trees. Don't do Bigfoot calls in the woods." I agree. I don't do call blasting, and I don't beat on trees.
I do.
Don't gift. Do not gift.
One thing we learned from the Sierra Sounds is that the auditory range of a Bigfoot is both above and below what humans are capable of. So anytime you try your own calls, you're basically only producing a fraction of their call range. So basically, it's you're not even speaking the language properly. So you might be propositioning his sister or insulting his mother and never know it.
Well, I'm willing to take that chance, and I do have 2 gifting sites, and Nick, you and I will agree to disagree on this. Where I agree with you is don't put food out there. Like my gifting sites consist of toys and some other sorts of ornamental figures and everything like that. That's what I put out. I don't believe in the food because you should not get any wild creature addicted to a human food. That's just asking for trouble.
And if you were going to be silly enough to put something, even if like apples or fruit out, you don't want to do it anywhere near your home. There's been so many documented cases of people that would feed black bears off their own porch, and then the one day they don't put any food out, the bear comes through the kitchen window and or kitchen door, and they're tearing your house apart. Mm-hmm. Wild animals get used to this feeding, and they get upset when it stops.
Oh yeah, that is very, very true.
And Bigfoot get very possessive of you once you start giving them apples. And I had one lady giving them Snicker bars. She would cut up a Snicker bar and put it out there on a tree stump for them. Oh, that was a bad thing to do, because you stop giving it to them, they get quite upset. What you're doing, Dave, you're gifting them things like toys and stuff, and hopefully they're giving you things back. You know, gifting you back.
The only thing that we have got back is my friends at our secondary site. My friend's daughter put down a worn-out 1960s nickel, and a week later we went back, and sitting on top of one of our toys that's sticking out of we had planted inside the tree bark was a 2019 nickel that we got back in return.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, a week later.
I'm wondering where they got such a new thing.
Well, who knows, right? And we're in an area where this happened, where there's one way in and one way out. You know, and that area is behind us when we're at this spot. And you were looking 25 miles into the forest. You know, so it's not going to be like somebody who's just out for an adventure. You know what I'm saying?
One way in, one way out.
That Dogman with like a Kong toy with peanut butter inside.
Man.
Thank you, Sovereign, for your grossness again. You know, it's my man. Hi, JKGN. How are you? 172 people here. That's kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
It's a good turnout.
If you could, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up. We'd greatly appreciate it. Also, I'm going to ask another favor. My buddy Merle and I have a new channel called Canada's Great Unknown, which is spooky stories from across Canada that we've been able to collect from listeners just like you and people we've talked to over the years. So if you like spooky stories, I'm going to put the link right in the chat room here momentarily. It is Canada's Great Unknown. If you don't mind hitting that subscribe button right there, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, we just got our first Russian bot in the chat room. Got that blocked. Very nice. Very nice. And if you're sitting down there listening in, feel free to join us in the chat room and say hello. Let us know where you're from. We always like to know where our audience is from. And we want to say a big thank you tonight to Nicola, Patrick, Christina, and Josh for the super chats. The super chats are a wonderful way to support what we do here on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. We say hello and thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us in tonight. We always love our veterans around here. You always have a safe home in our chat rooms. Thank you, Ann, for subscribing. Thank you, Polaris Sucks. I'm assuming you're talking about the ATV Polaris. Greg O'Brien, the Wonder Scowl. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you here, my man. And Jason Scraper, hello. Yeah, let us know where you're from. We always like to see. One of these days I'm getting a map on my wall to see where it goes. Here we go, guys.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears for wherever you are on this planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Iatramelia. Iatramelia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. From the North American Dogman Project, we have D.A. Roberts and Nick Valente here, breaking down everything to do with this incredible cryptid creature. You can find D.A. on his YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/D.A. Roberts Author. Pick up his books on Amazon. He's fantastic. And Nick, well, you know, he's got very tight hair. Very high and tight. We appreciate that around here. And
at least he's got hair.
Yes, two good gentlemen here, former law enforcement officers, now chasing down monsters. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
I want to ask you, because a lot of us who are going into the forest, whether we're going hiking, geocaching, trying to find that honey hole for fishing on maybe a hidden lake somewhere, you know, most of us are not prepared to run into a cryptid creature, whether it's Dogman, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's gnomes or little people or gargoyles, whatever it may be. When someone runs into something like this, Nick, how should we prepare ourselves to come face to face or within, let's say, 100, 200 yards of a cryptid creature? What should we do?
There is no preparing for that, Dave. I mean, you either react a certain way or you don't react a certain way. Most people are frozen right to the spot. I mean, just never a cryptid, for instance, a Dogman at 7 foot 6 inches tall, 650 pounds with 4-inch claws. I mean, that is a terrifying thing to see. No less, you know, up where you are, a grizzly bear. You come across a grizzly bear. It's a known animal. It pops up, you know, on the side of a tree. Most people are terrified. They're going to turn and run, and now they're looked upon as prey. You know, so it's just a matter of having awareness of where you are, and, you know, keep your eyes open to see what's going on. And if you do spot something, edge away slowly. Get out of the area. Yeah, it's going to be able to smell you, but at least it's not going to smell the fear as you're running away, and it starts to trot out after you. And you're not going to be able to outrun a bear. You're not going to be able to outrun a mountain lion or a coyote, for that matter.
Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. Being a baseball fanatic like me can be stressful. It's not all sports points and touchdowns. So Progressive is going to help you take your mind off your team for a moment. Instead of thinking about how they missed that goal point score, think about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, letting you choose coverage options based on your budget, unlike your team that missed the end zone net area. Well, Anyway, hope this distraction about Progressive's Name Your Price tool was helpful. It sure kept me from thinking about all those penalty balls. Yay, sports!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Good things are going on.
Health.
There in Mississippi.
The importance of health. Blue Health. The experience of what it means to be healthy. Because taking care today leads to an even healthier tomorrow. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be healthy. It's good to be blue.
So it's all about you. It's about the attitude that you take into that forest, into that wooded area. I know for myself, because I will go in there prepared. I'm not going to run. I'm going to stand there. And my actions are dictated by what the animal or what the creature is going to be doing. So, I mean, it's just a matter of preparation and personal awareness. And like I always tell people, always look up.
DA, what's your thoughts?
Any large predator will chase you if you run. It just kicks in its instincts. So whether you be worried about a cryptid or a grizzly bear or a pack of wolves or a mountain lion, if you run, it's going to chase you, and you're not going to outrun it. Back away slowly. Don't take your eyes off of it. The big time to worry about it is when you can't see it anymore. But if you don't panic, odds are it's not going to kick in its predatory instinct and make it chase you. However, if it starts coming toward you, be that again mountain lion, bear, whatever, try to make yourself look as big as possible. Put your arms up, grab a stick, do something. Preferably a big stick. Keep it between you. If you've got bear spray, use it. The important thing is just keep your head about you and don't panic. Panic will only inspire a predator to attack faster than anything else. And if you're going to go out in the woods, and it doesn't matter if you're going to be cryptid hunting or fishing or hunting in general or just backpacking or enjoying a good hike, take a first aid kit. Take a good first aid kit, not just a cheapie you get for $5 at Walmart. Take a decent first aid kit, preferably one with a tourniquet, because if you hurt yourself miles away from 911 response, when seconds count, they're only an hour away.
No, very, very, very true. And I'll tell you, I've never injured myself except one time, as silly as it sounds. We were out geocaching with the family. We were 2.5 miles from our vehicle. And I jumped off a rock about 3 feet high down to the ground, and I dislocated my ankle.
Oh,
and I had to walk with a dislocated ankle for the next at least an hour and a half to get back now, because I was walking. And you're so very right on that. If you had a first aid kit, it'd be a hell of a lot easier. If I would have known that my ankle was dislocated, I would have popped it back in right then and there, right? But I thought I had broken it, to be honest. But it does happen, and injuries can happen anywhere. But the question that I have before I get to Nicola's question here from our audience is this. If one of these cryptid creatures comes up to us, and it could be somewhere like just popping out or following in behind in a set of trees, just walking along the same path as you, how do you respond to the cryptid side? Because we don't hear a lot of stories, gentlemen, or if we do, please fill us in with examples of these creatures actually attacking people.
Well, I think if they do attack, odds are really good you're going to be a missing 411 case instead of a survivor. Because if it's a Bigfoot that weighs close to 800 pounds or a Dogman that's 7 foot tall and weighs 600 pounds, odds are really good you're not going to win that fight. Even with a firearm, you're probably not going to win that fight. So if you encounter a cryptid, you need to gauge your reaction based on its behavior. If it's acting aggressive, back away. Try to put distance between yourself. Try to get back to your vehicle. If that's impossible and you have to run, well, good luck to you, because outrunning in wild animals is not going to be easy. But in a lot of cases, Bigfoot have been known to just simply chase people out of the woods when they didn't want you in the area. I don't think the same thing can be said for Dogman, because Dogman whenever you hear a Dogman encounter, it's never one of those ones where I felt like it was just trying to get me out of the woods. Everybody that has a Dogman encounter generally says the same general things. It felt hellish. It felt demonic. I felt like I was being hunted. So I don't think you're going to have a peaceful encounter with a Dogman. I think they're predators. First and foremost, they're predators, and I don't think if it's approaching you, it's going to end well. If you've got a flare gun, if you've got a firearm, if you've got bear spray, you can probably buy yourself some time. But if you're up close to one in the woods, if it wants you, it's going to get you.
Very true. All right, let's go over to Nicola's question here. Do you guys classify Dogman and the bipedal canine as different creatures, much like the late Butch Witkowski did?
No, I wouldn't classify them as different. A bipedal canine is what I classify Dogman. Now, like DA mentioned before, there's 7 different types of Dogman. So, I mean, you may be looking at a different type of Dogman, but if they're walking on 2 feet and they look like a wolf or a German Shepherd type face, and they're of a certain height and stature, that's a Dogman.
I would agree with that.
Not something you can miss, Dave. It's not something you can miss at all.
Are there certain signs in the forest, gentlemen, that we should look for to know whether or not we are in Dogman or Bigfoot territory?
Well, there are some territorial markings you can look for. Dogmen have left claw marks on trees, but for the most part, there aren't a whole lot of proven territorial markings. Some people put a lot of stock in Bigfoot tree structures and have been said that Dogmen do similar things like making nests on the ground. But that is all just speculation. We don't know for sure if it's Bigfoot. We don't know if it's people doing it. So as far as looking for territorial signs, I don't think you're going to be able to find much. The only Bigfoot territorial sign that I would say I would for sure watch for is when you find a tree that's been snapped off, ripped out of the ground, and shoved back into the ground with a root wad in the air, because that's impossible for a human to do, without heavy equipment. And odds are, if you find that, it's going to be in the middle of nowhere with no place to look for it.
All right, DA.
No access.
DA, you provided us with a kind of a look at the 7 variants of Dogman, and unfortunately for our YouTube followers, it is a little small, but for our radio audience, I'm going to hope that you could break this all down. Let's start with these Type 3 variants, Variant 1, Variant 2, Variant 3. What do we see in the differences of those?
Nick, do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
Go ahead. You can start off. I'll finish it up for you.
Well, the Type 3 variants, especially the Variant Type 1 and the Variant Type 3, both look very, very ape-like. And I think it's very possible that the Variant 1 and the Variant 3 could be misidentified types of Bigfoot. I think the Variant 1 may be possibly the skunk ape variety, because they're described as looking very chimp-like. And the Type 3, Variant 3, may be just another sighting of a gugway, because to me those two look more simian. They don't look dog-like, but the Variant 2 definitely looks like a large dog in the face. It looks almost like a
hyena.
Yeah. Well, hyena is not the word I would use. Yeah. But like a wolf hybrid. Maybe if you've ever seen a wolf dog hybrid, it looks very wolf-like. But of the other two, I would almost think those two were misidentified Bigfoot. That's just my personal opinion.
Right. Okay, for you, Nick, let's go to the canine variants here, because the first one there, to me, looks like a large, dark wolf of some sort.
The Type 3 Variant 1 and the canine, the regular canine, just regular Variant 1. Also, the canine Variant 3, they all really do look like large wolf faces. The one all the way on the bottom left, the canine Variant 1, that looks more like a German Shepherd than anything.
Right.
So, I mean, this all comes from artists' descriptions that have been given to them by, people who have seen these things, who have firsthand, encounter with one, or I've seen one running across the road. The Type 3 Variant 3, That to me is more like a Bigfoot. And once again, in anything in cryptozoology, you're going to have misidentification. Some people, they may see a large black bear and say, oh my God, I saw a Bigfoot or I saw a Dogman. It's just misidentification. So, I mean, there's just so many reports and so many different descriptions from people, but there's a generality in the type 1 variants that, as you can see, they do look like they're wolves.
Well, I'm telling you right now, if I ever ran across one of those hyena-like variant 2s, I tell you, I might have a heart attack right there. The rest of them, I think I can
don't know
handle.
that I would blame you.
But that hyena thing, that looks very, very ugly indeed. Like, not even its mother would like it. Honestly. That's just nasty. But, gentlemen, as we kind of go forward here with a number of different, patterns that you are seeing out in the public, are there certain areas in North America that are having more encounters? I mean, at first we always thought it was the Wisconsin, Michigan type area, but is that spreading around?
There's been dogman sightings all across the country. We've got reports from Europe, from England, from Australia. It's not just something that's seen in North America. Dogmen are being seen all over the world.
And basically areas, this is going back to your question before, Dave, about where they're at and where to stay away from. A lot of the areas that you're going to find dogman, or at least the reports of them, have been from areas where there are like tunnels or caves. And also, a dogman is going to be in an area where there's more food. Food is in abundance to them. And I don't mean McDonald's or Burger King. I'm talking about deer that are in the area. Coyote they'll go after. They'll go after rabbit. Also, a water source, so the river. A reason why you might see a dogman and you might have an encounter might be because you've come across its family. It's young. And a female dogman might come out just to warn you off.
DA, what is your most memorable story of one that you have maybe taken as a report or had yourself regarding this creature?
Well, of course, the first one that always sticks in my mind is the famous LBL incident that allegedly happened back in the early 80s. That's the first one that always pops into my mind. But the one that I find to be the most compelling and at the same time terrifying was of a gentleman that lived just outside the LBL region. And he woke up in the middle of the night and his dog was acting funny. So he went downstairs and looked at the dog door, and a dogman was attempting to get through the dog door into his house.
Oh, my. Why do you think that we always hear of these dogmen wanting to enter the house? Why do you think they want to enter the house?
I would say they probably smell food, not only the food that we have, but would very likely consider us as food as well.
How about for you, Nick?
I tend to agree with him on that. My only thing is I don't understand. I mean, all the stories that have been reported to myself, the stories that have been reported to other researchers, I just don't understand why they just don't break down the door. I mean, a black bear can literally come up to a door and hit it with a paw, and the door's going to bust right open. A dogman is probably at least as strong. I just don't understand why they just don't rip the door right off. I don't think they're looking for trouble per se. There's a reason why they've attacked people in the past. And like I said, it could be that you're encroaching upon their feed area, their water, or maybe they're young or something like that. Or, you're just threatening their area. So to me, that's the answer I look towards.
And for you, Nick, do you have a story or a report that's really stood out for you?
Well, my personal encounter is the biggest thing that stands out. And then with DA, about a year ago, we were both in LBL, Kentucky, and we're driving out of LBL, a very oppressive area when you go in to say the least. And on the way out, I catch something in my peripheral vision. DA's looking off to the right. We're in my vehicle, and he's telling me, stop. He actually saw something, dead on, more than I did. I did see something large and black, larger than, 6 foot tall. It was extremely large on the roadside. When I stopped, we both got out. It was gone, but it was in an area that was sloping downwards. It was a forest area sloping downwards. There was at least a foot of old leaves in the area, and we didn't have anything to defend ourselves. Besides, what are we going to do if we caught the thing, if we caught up to it? DA, you want to tell them?
The area was, very heavily wooded. We were able to locate impressions and pushed back areas of leaf litter where it had taken off very quickly, and it dropped down into a ravine that probably had a 60-degree incline. So without safety gear, there was no way we were getting to the bottom of that ravine, and it was long gone by the time we even got over to the tree where it was at. And it was, when I saw it, it was probably 10 yards off the side of the road, and it was leaning out looking at us as we drove by. And by the time I got Nick to stop the vehicle, it was already down on all fours and down that ravine. But it was standing up when I saw it.
No kidding. Now, considering you hadn't had a sighting before, DA, what is it like, or what's going through your mind when all of a sudden you see this thing?
It was really just kind of almost like a relief. Like, seeing it was like, yes, there it is. It was, I'm not crazy, that kind of thing. It was a vindication moment. But I knew there was no way I was catching it. I mean, I walk with a pronounced lip thanks to my back injury, and they have to have a cane in most incidents. So there was no way I was chasing it down.
How about for you, Nick, seeing him being there to get his first sighting?
Well, I had an encounter back in September 13th, 2013, where I was 30 feet away from one, and I was actually looking at a Variant 3. I just feel, I sort of also feel vindicated that here we're at LBL and we got a sort of a sighting at this point, and not a full-on staring at the thing and it's staring at us, but at least we didn't go there and it was a total waste of time.
We did get some good video, though. Some great video. I mean, not of the Dogman itself, unfortunately, but we got some great footage inside LBL.
Inside LBL. It's a very oppressive area, Dave. Have you ever been there?
No. For people who may not know, what is the LBL?
Land Between the Lakes. It's in Kentucky and in Tennessee. It's actually a vacationing area. People will take their campers there to camp. They'll swim. They'll go fishing. They'll go hiking. The Kentucky side is more Sasquatch. The Tennessee side is more Dogman oriented.
You got those reversed. It's Kentucky for Dogman and
I'm sorry, right?
Because Tennessee's to the south.
They don't play well together. They don't inhabit the same areas. And but it is a vacation spot. People go in there. But I'll tell you, when I went in, I felt the oppressiveness of the area. The overhead canopy made everything really dark. There was really very little cell phone reception, at least on my cell phone.
Yeah, I didn't get any reception either.
Yeah, I mean, which is why I would tell people, if you're going to go into an area like that, have a personal beacon locator, on your body. This way, if trouble does happen, you can hit a button and they can locate you, and you will not be part of the missing 411.
Well, I'm taking two-way radios next time.
Well, I am definitely stocking up on mine this year. Yeah. I've got the radios. I have the first aid kit. Don't have the gun license yet. That's something I got to work on yet. But when I have time, I will. But yeah, you have to be safe out there. You do. Gentlemen, we have you for another half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio as we are talking Dogman all night long here. Nick Valente, D.A. Roberts, former law enforcement officers, now chasing monsters around North America as part of the North American Dogman Project. when we return. More of your questions and more of our curiosity on the legendary Dogman when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Second half of the show is next. All right, we're clear, gentlemen.
Awesome.
Half-hour segments go fast.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. This is fun. I love this topic.
Me too.
I totally love it. I know I've only ever heard of 2 reports here in BC of the Dogman.
There have been Dogman sightings in Alaska, but most of what you get out of Alaska is what they refer to as the hairy man, which seems to be a more aggressive, larger version of Bigfoot.
Oh yeah,
I've Dogman encounters out of California, Colorado, pretty much anywhere that there are caves, water, and mountains, or a lot of woods too.
But don't fret, Dave. Where you are in basically the east coast of Canada, you have the Douglas.
West Coast. We you know what though? What we have learned up here. I recently learned of a new cryptid up here called the Green Man.
The Green Man,
which is like a 4 to 5 foot tall green man that tends to haunt a lot of First Nations territories up north. And
I just recently learned of a new one myself. It supposedly haunts the Tennessee River valleys, specifically in the area near Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. The Cherokee called it Spearfinger.
Spearfinger.
That it would hunt people. Supposedly, it had once upon a time been a cursed woman who had this enormous hand with a finger like a spear. And during the fall of the year, she would hunt prey along the woods, hunting people.
Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Or as we like to call it, the can't have just one deal. Mix and match a sausage biscuit, sausage McGriddles, McChicken biscuit, chicken McGriddles, or crispy hash browns. Want 2 sausage biscuits? Buy one, get one for $1. Want a sausage biscuit and hash browns? That's cool too. Choose more of what you love. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
Help Jews in Poverty at helpjewsnow.org. Your $25 gift today will help provide a life-saving food box to Jews in need. Be a blessing right now. Visit helpjewsnow.org. That's helpjewsnow.org.
People.
Oh my. That's just not very nice.
That doesn't seem too pleasant. Of course I want to go in the fall and go see if I can find it.
Yeah, not very nice at all. Up here, I don't know if you've ever heard the stories, but Jonathan Whitcomb has reported on it before. But apparently up here in northwestern BC, over by the ocean, there is, and by the Alaskan border as well, there's actually pterodactyl sightings. And the one First Nations area up there actually believes that a number of their men have gone missing by being taken as food by this creature. Yeah. And there's also reports in that area going up to Alaska and to, that everything gets bigger as you go north. And we're talking 14, 15, 16-foot tall Sasquatches, up to 20 feet tall. Now, whether that's real or not, I don't know. But, I mean, there you're getting into almost, 15, 16 feet. You're getting into 1,500, 1,600 pounds of creature there. But, I mean, knowing the size of the bears up there, I mean, with the Kodiaks and the grizzlies and everything like that, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, even like my area, a big moose is about 1,500 pounds. You go up to that Alaska Yukon area, the moose there are well over 2,000 pounds. Everything is just oh yeah, baffling. Hey Logan, how you doing, man? Black Dragon, Semper Fi to you, my friend. And who else is coming in here late? Matthew Kennedy, Nicholas Shaughnessy. Good to have you guys here. And I think we're caught up there. Got the rest of you. Type them out. Here's one for you, DA. Does Dogman have an impressive nutsack like other dogs? Yes, it's got a big set of cods on it. Big set of cods.
Well, if I ever take one down, I'm making a dice bag out of one.
Holy cow. Holy cow. That is awesome.
One of the things that we should always point out is that the NADP is a no-kill organization. Yeah. We don't advocate going out and hunting one down to kill it. In fact, the only way I would ever shoot at one or Bigfoot or any cryptid for that matter is in self-defense or defending somebody else.
Right. Gentlemen, we got 20 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to Nicola, Patrick, Christina, and Josh for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. And we're going to continue on here with the final half hour with these gentlemen right now. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you all with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate each and every one of you tuning us on in. Reminder to you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We have D.A. Roberts, Nick Valente from the North American Dogman Project. We have until the top of the hour talking all things monsters as we continue on here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to start off with a question for Mr. Gray Owl for D.A. What do you figure the chances are of surviving a battle with a werewolf?
It depends on its intent. I mean, if the creature's intent on killing you, I don't really think it's going to matter what you're carrying, firearm-wise or knife-wise. You might be able to do enough damage to get it to go away. But if it wants you, it's going to get you. I think that's just my personal opinion. I think if it's decided that you're on the menu, there's not a lot you're going to be able to do or say about it.
How about you, Nick?
I'm of the idea that if it'll take down a large grizzly bear or a brown bear, it'll take down a Dogman. And a 308 with a 200-grain bullet or a 10-millimeter Glock with a 200-grain bullet, I think it'll do some damage. I mean, I've got the skill to be able to hit the thing, 5 out of 5 times. So I'm not going to go down without a fight. I'm going to hit it with bear spray. I'm going to hit it with everything I have. Barehanded, hand-to-hand, I don't think you have a chance, really.
That's the only chance you would have is if you saw it in time. If it's hunting you, if you don't see it until it's too late, you may never get a round off.
That's right.
No, and I could see that too. How often or how close have we come to encounters of these creatures, getting violent with people in the forest, or like you guys said earlier, where there was a vehicle that was attacked by one of these things? Why would it attack a vehicle? A parked vehicle at that.
Well, there's been lots of documented Bigfoot encounters where people have been parked in their vehicle and it's come up and shoved the vehicle or reached in an open window. Part of it's probably just curiosity, but then it could very well just be smelling a meal. And they're opportunistic hunters. We know that much like even large bears, grizzly bears, they don't always hunt. Sometimes if they find a kill, they'll just eat it. Drive off a pack of wolves or or run off a smaller bear. So they're opportunistic as well as avid hunters. So if they see an opportunity for a quick meal, they're going to take it.
Or it could simply be that you're in their area. You're near their young. You're near their food supply, their water supply. You're in their home area, and they want you out of that area. It could be as simple as that, Dave.
Yeah, that snarl might mean license and registration, please.
Yep.
I want to ask you guys. A lot of times with Sasquatch, you hear these reports where there is other things, paranormal or supernatural, happening. Okay, whether it's footprints just stopping or whether there's a UFO sighting. I investigated a case here last year where a gentleman was coming out of the forest and he literally had a Sasquatch walk right in front of him across the logging road, and he got the hell out of there because he was pretty freaked out. And like 10, 15 minutes later, as he's driving down the logging road, he gets hit with lights from a UFO, looks up, and there's a black triangle over him. I mean, talk about winning the lottery, back to back there, but there's a lot of these reports where there is some sort of something supernatural that comes along with a sighting. How have you guys reacted to those happenings with Dogman? Or are they happening as often as they are with Sasquatch?
They are happening with Dogman. I've done a 6-month study on a combination of Sasquatch and Dogman, where the people that have had the encounter or the sighting have seen orbs of light in the sky before, after, or before and after. And I've taken the study up now past 600 encounters or sightings. The original study was just under 400, but 92% of the time they have seen something that would be described as extraterrestrial. Now, in the beginning of the show, you asked about, Dogman. You think it's physical? I think it's a physical thing, but physical from where? From an alien viewpoint? From a portal, perhaps? I know they've been around for a long time from all the reports throughout history. So they are a physical being. My encounter, I saw it eating something. Why would it not be a physical being if it's eating something? It wouldn't have to be eating anything if it was just pure energy, at least to my mind. But, I mean, you got to think outside the box. It can be alien. It can be from another dimension. It's all a possibility, Dave. It's all a possibility.
D.A., what's your thoughts on what Dogman is?
I think it's a very physical creature, and since we've got sightings databases, and not necessarily databases, sorry, I chose the wrong word there, but sighting reports going back to the 1600s and Native American folklore going beyond. Christopher Columbus and Marco Polo both indicated these dog-headed creatures on their travels. I think it's a very real creature. Now, I won't rule out any of the sighting reports where people talk about seeing a UFO or something supernatural during the same encounter or within a few minutes of each other. But I don't think we can explain one mystery with another mystery. Until we explain one, I don't think we can compound that with another mystery. However, having said that, if we are seeing UFOs in and around either Dogman or Bigfoot sightings, I think any species capable of crossing interstellar distances to come here to study us or to watch us or observe us are going to observe all of the bipedal life forms on the planet, not just one. So if they're aware of us, they're aware of the other creatures. Obviously, they're going to have much better, sensor technology or observation skills than we have. So I don't necessarily think that Bigfoot or Dogman are coming from another dimension or through a portal or from space. I think that if there's a UFO involved, they're studying them as well. Now, having said that, I won't say it's impossible. I will never be the guy that go, oh, no, that can't happen, because we don't know. I mean, all we really have is theory and knowledge that we've gathered through report taking and personal experience and personal sightings. So all we really have is theory. So I will never say it's impossible. I just think it's far more likely that it is a physical existent creature.
See, and I like that approach. I mean, you have your opinion, but you're not closing doors, which I think has been a huge, huge problem with the BFRO. the Bigfoot Research Organization, where they have been completely closed at anything supernatural outside a physical creature. And the funny part about it is, the minute you close doors before you've even studied them, you're not conducting anything scientific, which throws everything that the BFRO has done over the last 20 years into the garbage.
I agree completely. And again, I will reiterate, there are no experts in these fields. Anybody that claims they're a Bigfoot expert or a Dogman expert or a Chupacabra expert or any kind of cryptid expert, they're trying to sell you something, be that books or television shows or T-shirts. There are no experts. All we have is the evidence that has been collected, the stories we've been told, and we have theories. Until those are proven to be a fact, until it's a known creature that has been documented by science, all we're going to have is working theory. So anyone in the audience's theories are just as good as mine. Just because I'm part of the NADP doesn't make my theories any better or any worse. We're all entitled to our theories. We're all entitled to our opinions. We just don't have the right to force those opinions on other people. So Take every account for what it is, a person's account. Learn from it what you can, gather what information you can, and look for those consistencies across multiple reports, because that's how we start isolating behavior.
Al would like to know, is Dogman cold and calculating versus the opposite?
I think it's very intelligent, and I definitely think it's a hunter. It's a large predator. It's an apex predator in its area. Taking a phrase from my own books there, but Dogman is very intelligent. It's far more intelligent than a wolf. It's far more intelligent than a dog. I would definitely give it, problem solving, definitely higher intelligence. So yes, it's smart enough to hunt you. It's smart enough to observe your behaviors. It's smart enough to know what a gun is, from having likely been shot at. So this is a reasoning animal. It does what it does for a reason. It's not just instinct; it's intelligent.
And what about you, Nick? Your opinion?
I agree with DA. It is an intelligent animal above that of a wolf and a bear. I don't put it on par with the human intelligence at all, but I do think that the Dogman, there's not literally millions and millions of them all over the world. However, I would say there could be a couple million of them spread throughout the world, and they're smart enough to know that if they went on a rampage killing humans, that the humans would catch on and would put up a resistance to the point where they would hunt them down and eradicate them. So I think they're smart enough to know not to, do too much harm to humans, even though there have been reports, a la the LBL report, Lockheed, what was
Lockett Ranch.
Story. There's other stories out there where they've attacked humans.
That family in Maine.
Right. Oh yeah. And throughout history, Dogman has been seen in paintings and has been described, not only by the Native Americans going way back, but I mean, like I said, my theory is that, if aliens were here before, I mean, I have to think outside the box. If they were here before and possibly helped the Egyptians to make the Sphinx, the pyramids, there are drawings of types of Dogman, you might say, even though it doesn't look exactly like a wolf creature. They have drawings back then in Egypt, and the Native Americans have drawings of Dogman and wolf-like creatures on two legs. It's all a possibility. It's something I can't say no to.
Very cool.
World Bigfoot Radio had a good comment. He said LBL was Gugway. We had descriptions from one of the KYDNR officers. I do believe there are Gugway in that area, but some of the first-hand encounter stories I've taken from the LBL area were from fishermen who very much described a dog-headed creature waiting in the water catching fish at the edge of LBL. So I think while there may be Gugway creatures there, there are definitely dogmen in that area.
I'm going to change this question up a little bit by Nicola about, do you guys think that this is a or there could be potential people who turn into werewolves like Legion.
I think Dogman is Dogman all the time. I think werewolf is a totally different creature we might be talking about here. People have come down with a sickness, where they've eaten other people, and part of the sickness is that their body is super hairy. But I think it's two different creatures we're talking about here.
I agree. I think Dogman is Dogman all the time. The Cherokee referred to them as the Yolanga Doglala. There are dozens of different names for them from tribe to tribe, but I think Dogman is Dogman all the time.
All right. Is this creature seen around the world? Because Tony here is in the United Kingdom and asking, is there an area that Dogman is more prevalent?
Yeah, there are a lot of sightings from here in the States. Seems to be a big activity around the Taylor, Mississippi area, and also in the Kentucky, Tennessee area around LBL. They're also up in the Appalachian Mountains. Come a lot of stories. But if you want to look into more of the research in England on Dogman, look for the YouTube channel Do It Noel's Way. He does a lot of research into Dogman in England, and he's gotten some really interesting video. Plus, he's out there all the time. Fantastic videos.
Right. Also, in Australia, I've gotten numerous reports. In fact, I have something like on my Region 3 NADP site, I have something like 38 members from Australia. And one member in particular, John from Creepy Cryptids, he has a YouTube channel. He's reported Dogman. And what DA was saying before about the fact that they are the fishermen have been reporting them, just note that Dogman has been reported, and a lot of my research has vindicated this, that Dogman is a good swimmer. In Australia, John from Creepy Cryptids has reported that. He's seen one in the water, while he's been there fishing. He has a YouTube channel on it if anybody wants to check it out.
Can do. Can very much do. And Nicholas is wondering, are there Dogman common in southeast Oklahoma?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Most of the stories I've heard of out of southeast Oklahoma involve aggressive groups of Bigfoot, but there are some Dogman stories out of that area.
Rafaela wants to know if there are Dogmen in Australia or Austria.
Australia for certain. I don't know about in Austria, but I do know there are a lot of people, much like the missing 411 cases, there are a lot of missing people in the Schwarzwald area of Germany. So if it's a Bigfoot or Dogman type creature in that area, it could exist there as well.
Looking forward, where do we need to take the research for this creature? The easy answer to everything is always get a body. We need a body. But hundreds of years, guys, we haven't got a body. Okay?
Well, we know that bones of Bigfoot-like creatures have been collected. Look at the Lovelock Cave. Those were actually put on public display in Lovelock, Nevada. They were there for years until the Smithsonian wanted to borrow them to study, and then they just vanished. There are pictures of the bones with red hair from the Lovelock Cave area. There were bones of what they thought were giant humanoids found when the U.S. Army was bulldozing runways in the Aleutian Islands during World War II. And those were turned over to top men from the Smithsonian, and again, those vanished. There were people that reported seeing the military take out entire deuce-and-a-half loads of Bigfoot corpses during the Mount St. Helens eruption. The government has known about these for a long time. They just refuse to admit it. And I think the reason they don't is if those creatures are preying on people and they didn't come forward about it, that makes them culpable in the disappearances.
And the simpler answer, Dave, also, in conjunction with what DA just said, the simpler answer is that the forest claims its own back. How many times have you seen or heard about somebody finding a bear carcass, for instance? The other animals will eat that, the meat, the bones even. Deer eat bones, believe it or not. And, people don't think of it.
When they need the calcium.
The forest claims its own back. And since they're
Help Jews in Poverty at helpjewsnow.org. Your $25 gift today will help provide a life-saving food box to Jews in need. Be a blessing right now. Visit helpjewsnow.org. That's helpjewsnow.org. Help Jews in Poverty at helpjewsnow.org. Your $25 gift today will help provide a life-saving food box to Jews in need. Be a blessing right now. Visit helpjewsnow.org. That's helpjewsnow.org.
There's not billions of Dogman and Sasquatch out there. You're not going to find a dead body in the woods most of the time. The odds are very, very low.
And the conditions to make a fossil, the research shows it's one out of several million animals that actually makes it to become a fossil. Look at Gigantopithecus. That's an accepted species of giant ape that we believed existed 50,000 to 100,000 years ago. And all we've ever found of Gigantopithecus was a few teeth and a piece of a jawbone.
All right, let's go to Leroy's question here. How much of that bear spray would it take to stop a bear? I have talked to people who feel it doesn't work at times. Is there a specific brand?
I wouldn't say there's a specific brand, but I've seen it work. I've used the regular pepper spray that the police carry on a black bear, and it worked well. I was up in a tree stand with a friend of mine who was bow hunting, and he pulls out a bag with a McDonald's sausage and egg sandwich, and I knew we were going to have problems right away. A young black bear came out of the woods and started climbing the tree. I hit this thing in the face with a straight spray of regular police strength pepper spray, and this thing dropped 10 feet to the ground, Dave. I've seen bear spray now, which all you got to do is just give it a shot. It's about a 2 to 3 second spray. It goes out in a conical spread, straight out, and the bear, which has senses of smell that are many times what we have, it's got to see with eyes just like we see. It's going to get affected really, really quickly by that. Bear spray can shoot out up to 36 feet, depending on the brand that you buy. I'm not going to endorse any particular brand because they actually all work well. One thing I would give as a fair warning with pepper spray, and I learned this lesson the hard way in law enforcement, it doesn't always work. I pepper sprayed a guy one night, and he just wiped it off and kept coming. So it does not affect everybody equally. And I've got to say that will have to apply to the animal world. There will be cases where it just doesn't work. I wouldn't bet my life on pepper spray. That's why we referred to pepper spray as a deterrent. It is not something I would bet my life on. I would want to have a backup plan to that pepper spray. Well, you got to have a backup plan, but like with a human, it was the guy on coke at the time. Was he on some sort of a drug? You don't know what the person's on. I was actually on site, and I saw a pepper spray being used against an alligator, and it worked very well. It repulsed the animal. And like I said, I've seen it work on a bear. So, I mean, as far as I know, it does work. You do have to have a plan B and C, though.
I know for a fact that from my own training in law enforcement, you have to be able to fight through it. You in order to be certified, you get sprayed and you still have to fight. If I can do it, I'm guarantee you an 8-foot Sasquatch is going to do it. I'm not superhuman. I am not 9 foot tall and bulletproof. When I got hit with pepper spray, yes, it hurt. Was I able to keep fighting? Yes, I was. So don't count on it to save your life.
Gentlemen, we got about 90 seconds left with you tonight. And DA, I would like you to start off, let everybody know where they can find your books, your YouTube channel, and more about the North American Dogman Project.
Awesome. You can check out all of my books at daroberts.net. My YouTube channel is DA Roberts Author. I have a bi-weekly show on Wednesdays and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time called DA Ex Machina, where we talk about cryptids and other strange creatures and stories. And you can find the North American Dogman Project at NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com.
All right. And Nick, where can people find your information?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I run several sites for the North American Dogman Project, but they can find me at North American Dogman Project Region 3. And even though I'm not an author, I did have the pleasure of writing for D.A. Roberts the forward to this book that D.A. wrote. I have the forward written here, and I help him with some of the research on some of his other books. So definitely I would ask the people to go out there and check them out.
Guys, this has been a lot of fun. An extremely fast 2 hours. And, of course, we got to do it again. DA, it's been a couple of years since we had you on this show. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. That it's
anytime, Dave. Just let me know.
Well, I love it when it's a lot sooner. And, Nick, always a pleasure to have you on here, man. You're a great wealth of knowledge when it comes to Dogman and everything like that. So thank you guys so much.
My pleasure, sir. Anytime.
My pleasure.
All right, coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we're going to head into the swamp. A special story from British Columbia here, courtesy of the Swamp Dweller. And, of course, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is going to bring his latest cryptid story. We might get into a little bit of Magic 8 Ball. See how that's going. Maybe I'll have to cook up the sage. Make sure that the damn thing is blessed before we go into the spirit world with the Magic 8 Ball. Shirky Poo's got the news next as well. Stay tuned. Hour 3 is next. Great show, guys.
Hey, thanks, Dave.
Great show. That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We sure kept that moving, man.
Heck yeah. Anytime you want me to come back, just shoot me a message. You got me on Facebook. I don't know if you've got my telephone number, but I'll be happy to give it to you.
Yeah, I got it. Definitely. And Nick, thanks for jumping on in with us, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dave, if you want to throw my picture on next to DA's picture for the advertisement, you can get the aftermarket crowd, people that were not listening live. I'll post it on the other 7 sites that I'm on. And
I will see what I can do on that one. See what I can do.
If you do it, send it to me and I'll post it up.
Will do, buddy. Will do. Gentlemen, I will let you go from here. I got Super Duke ready to come on in, but we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, Dave, be safe.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Take
Good
care.
night.
See you guys. I love them. Love them. Super Duke, what's happening?
Hey, guys. Geez, you don't need to shoo them out the door just to bring me in, Dave.
Well, I need you to entertain the audience because I am going to head to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll take questions. I have the chat room up. Quick questions. You have however long it takes Dave to run to the bathroom and back. I have my giant mug ready to go. Giant mug of coffee and hot chocolate so I can stay awake. Nicola. I save them up for spring when it's mosquito season, wild man. Evan, have I ever seen one? I have not seen one, but unfortunately I did film one in a group of Sasquatch, and I didn't notice it was in there until after the fact. And it was actually more obvious than the Sasquatch who was standing in between. So that was very creepy. Hey, Raffaella. Yeah, if this was beer, this would be the really expensive stuff. But no, it's just hot chocolate and coffee. Blue, no red. Ah! Oh, yeah, some of them have hair that look just like Dave. They'll think he's related somehow. And Enjibuka, and I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Hi, Blue. Yeah, I think in Australia they don't have Dogman, they have Dingo Dude. Yeah, Evan, I've been hearing people talking about that for a long time, how they have big groups of Sasquatch that actually have Dogman hanging around it. I was like not really taking that seriously until I got that on video. Apparently they have 3 different kinds of cryptid hominid type things in Australia too. They have a larger troll-like thing, and then they have the Yowie, and then they have the Jungides, the little half-size micro squatches.
All right, I'm back, Super Duke. Yes, I saw in the chat right before I left. Yes, Monday night, Jimmy Church will have me on as a guest.
And, cool.
And then, once he's done his show, he's going to come over and join us on Spaced Out Radio. So we got a little bit of a double shot happening there. I'm really, really interested in that one. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be good.
Oh, Jimmy's a fun interview. I've had him on my show before, and he was a blast. That was actually the longest show that I turned out for quite a long time. Because once he gets going, he's got plenty of stories. He can keep going for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got on a phone call the other day, and God, we didn't even touch the paranormal. We were all talking about music and guitars and
that was about half the interview I did, too, talking about bands
fantastic.
And different band experiences and stuff. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Hi, Solaire. How you doing? Good to see you. We got just under a minute, Duke.
All right, on. So we got a little linguistic review relating back to the last time I was on, and then we have some information from the further north, because apparently Swampy's got a British Columbia thing here, so it's all in keeping with it.
We're using one of our stories tonight.
Oh,
okay.
Well,
every now and again, I like to use one of ours from Canada's Great Unknown. I know Swampy doesn't mind because we advertise him, and he's a big reason why we are, doing Canada's Great Unknown. So it's going to be fun.
Well, I'm going to jump back from where we left off with the Modoc tribe over to the Himalayas briefly, and then I'm going to come back to that one place that you think sucks and you want to talk about.
Hold on, buddy.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you all with us, as we really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Iatromelia. Iatromelia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Once again, we head into the swamp, where our resident swamp dweller takes us for another spooky story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp.
Hi, everybody. It's Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers, and right here at Canada's Great Unknown. And this is a story I'm going to share with you that is something to this day I think about every time I head out into an investigation. Now, for most people out there who ghost hunt, this is considered a great hobby where communicating with spirits is the equivalent of, say, playing baseball or riding amusement park rides. But for me, I have questions, and this is why I take my paranormal investigations very seriously. On this particular case, I almost died. Literally, I had a haunted doll try to kill me. The team I was working with at the time had a major investigation up in Quesnel, British Columbia. The museum in Quesnel has a doll named Mandy, who, according to authors David Weatherly and Ross Allison, is considered to be one of the 10 most haunted dolls in the world. The history of Mandy is pretty vague. There are some who believe she's a death doll. There are others who believe she was a child's toy back in the day. But if you look at her now, inside her curio cabinet, she's a porcelain doll with a cracked face and clothing from the late 1800s to early 1900s. Now, Mandy, over the years, has battled many psychics and exorcists who've tried to cleanse her of what people call an evil spirit. To this day, it hasn't worked. She's still locked into the doll body, but her powers can reach out and literally hurt someone. On this occasion, my team and I had set up cameras all over the museum. However, 2 of them were specifically trained on Mandy to see what would happen overnight, from day 1 to day 2 of the investigation. During the night, after we had left the museum, we discussed how cool it would be if we caught Mandy moving or something paranormal around her. But when we went back the next day, we noticed both cameras had batteries that should have lasted at least 3 hours apiece, were now dead within minutes of us leaving and locking the doors. Did Mandy or something else drain them? We don't know. As Mandy's story goes, she doesn't like cameras or people staring at her. Legends state you should never make eye contact with her. Now, as a paranormal investigator, I always try to take legends such as this with a grain of salt, but on this occasion, our team was proven wrong. One of my teammates, we'll call him Curtis, went over to Mandy to check on the cameras, take photos, and to do base readings of the atmosphere around her curio cabinet. Somehow, Curtis ended up making eye contact with Mandy, and when we found him, he was kneeling right in front of the doll, staring at her in a complete gaze. Both myself and another investigation, whom we'll call Harry, tried to shake Curtis out of this trance that he seemed to be in. I'd never seen this before, and to be honest, I thought Curtis was playing with us, until we tried to snap him out of it. He would not come out. He would not come to. We shook him and yelled his name right directly in his ear with 0 results, not even a flinch. This went on for about 10 minutes before he finally came to. Curtis came out, shocked and panicked. He didn't know what had happened. Curtis immediately jumped up and ran outside the building to literally puke his guts out from this sickening experience. We knew at that point that we were dealing with something we'd never dealt with before. After we knew Curtis was feeling better, we went back as a team and started getting ready to carry on with our investigation. I was walking around and taking a few photos when I came across Mandy's area on my own. While I was taking photos of her area, I noticed that for some unknown reason, I kept locking my eyes onto her. This was odd to me because it felt like I was being lured into doing this. It felt like she was inviting me to communicate with her, but on her level. At that time, we as a team weren't ready to investigate her just yet. Yet, these almost telepathic messages kept leading my eyes and attention to her. Now, part of my personal ritual on a ghost hunt is I like to have a little private time to myself to meditate, protect myself spiritually, as well as grab a drink of water and a snack to prepare. I consciously headed outside to my truck to get what I needed for a long night of ghost hunting. But the last thing I recalled was opening my truck door. Now, the location of the museum, it's along a busy highway rolling through Quesnel. Highway 97 at night is a little less traffic, but a lot more speeding with vehicles along a dark strip of the highway. The highway is about 200 feet from the museum's front door, where my truck was parked in front of. Our psychic on the team, whom we'll call John, decided that he was going to walk out of the museum just to check on me, because he had this intuitive sense that something wasn't right. John stated he then found me walking to the edge of the highway without any signs of stopping. He quickly ran over to me and noticed that I was in a trance-like state, much like Curtis was earlier. I eventually woke up to John yanking me into the parking lot aggressively. I got mad at him because I didn't understand why he had pulled on my body so vigorously. I said, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?" To which John replied, "I was saving your life. You were about to walk onto the highway." I was confused. The last I recall, I was back at my truck getting a drink and eating a snack. Looking around, I said to John, "How did I end up here?" To which John replied, "The dog."
Family. It looks a little different for everyone. For some, it's mom and dad. For others, roommates who feel like family. And for others, it's your significant other, their golfing buddies, your children, a high school soccer team starting lineup, and oh look, they're all taking you up on the offer to stay for dinner, really testing the limits of that phrase, the more the merrier. But no matter where you call home, Geico makes it easy to bundle and save on home and car insurance. Easier than making 3 frozen pizzas and assorted frozen veggies into a cohesive meal.
Help Jews in poverty at helpjewsnow.org. Your $25 gift today will help provide a life-saving food box to Jews in need. Be a blessing right now. Visit helpjewsnow.org. That's helpjewsnow.org.
The doll got you here. You must have subconsciously called the doll out, and it's proving its power to you. After I started to come to my senses even more, I started feeling violently ill. The fresh air outside did help calm me down. It did help my head stop from spinning, but my stomach was turning as well. Eventually, the team gathered around to see if I was all right to continue on for the night. And after about 15 minutes, I told the team I was okay to continue, and then we all went back inside the building. We conducted our business as usual, and luckily, we had no further violent incidents. Even when we went back to Mandy, I think we all had a new respect for how powerful she is and was, and we changed our aggressive tactics to be more respectful and believing in her abilities. Thank goodness she respected us back. Things could have ended off much worse. All right, that is Swamp Dweller for the night. You can check out his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. But now we shift our gears to more cryptid news. World Bigfoot Radio's Super Duke Sullivan. He's got his cape on, he's got his hair flowing, and we're ready for another cryptid report. All right, Super Duke, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. How you been doing, buddy?
Doing better than I was the last couple of days, so I'm happy I could be here. I still got my voice back again and ready to talk about cryptid-related stuff, not related to porcelain dolls or haunted porcelain dolls.
Oh, I know.
Haunted porcelain dolls of gray aliens or no.
You know,
No.
Mandy the Haunted Doll, my friend, is one scary, scary looking doll. It really is. And, you know, it just scares the daylights out of me. Just absolutely scares the daylights out of me. And I have been face to face with this doll. And I'll tell you, Duke, there is something very, very uncomfortable about Mandy. And I can see why she is considered one of the most haunted dolls out there. Her face is all cracked. They put a little toy in there so that way it might calm her spirit down, which it did. And it is just absolutely freaky. Absolutely freaky.
Creepy.
Yeah. You can get you can get probably within a couple inches of the curio cabinet that she's in.
No.
No.
Maybe I could, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. All right, let's get to the cryptid news. What do you got for us tonight, my friend?
Well, when we left off, we were talking about the Giants, Cannibals, and Monsters book by Kathy Muscovitz Strain that has the stories from all the native tribes of North America. And we're comparing and contrasting the difference between one story that the Modoc tribe had about grandfather running into a Sasquatch and making friends with it, with the other classic account from Princess Winnemucca from the Paiute tribe about them wiping out the cannibal giants, which were not Bigfoot. Those were what we would think of as like Nephilim giants. Giant humans, red hair, eat us littler humans. But as I mentioned at the end of the whole thing, the name the Modoc we're calling them is Mata Kagmi. And I remarked that sounds ridiculously similar to what they're being called over in Himalayas. And for reference to that, we have the Abominable Snowman book by Ivan T. Sanderson, where he talks about some of that. And he says, Colonel Howard Berry appears to have been intrigued by a scrap of what he seems to have regarded as local folklore, but like all who have had contact with them, he had such respect for the Sherpas that he included the incident in the report that he sent to Kathmandu, capital of Nepal, to be telegraphed on to his representatives in India, where he made mention of a creature named the Meto Kangmi. He failed to realize that he was dealing with one of several kinds of creatures known to the Sherpas, and that they, on this occasion, apparently both in an endeavor to emphasize this, and for the sake of clarity, used as a generic term for all of them, like we may have sub-varieties of Sasquatch in North America, but we just call Bigfoot for all of them, right? Same kind of idea here. The name of clarity used as a generic term for all of them is Kangmi, which is a foreign word in the language. This is a Tibetan colloquialism in some areas and is itself partly of foreign origin even there, and that Kang is apparently of Chinese origin, while Mi is a form of Nepalese Me. The combination thus means snow creature. Okay? So there's where half of the name comes from. Where does the other half of the name come from? Mete, which is actually a whole bunch of long-winded description here. Man corresponding to Nepali me, meaning it, something more closely related to, and there's a whole bunch of different variations in pronunciation, and the Tibetan te, living thing. So the actual translation of that would be a man-like living thing that is not a human being. Meto Kangmi apparently would translate as what we were just talking about, and additionally, one who can carry off a man. So it's very interesting that you have that kind of that close of a description on the one hand, and then on the other hand, here it is the other side of the world, and they've got this similar kind of thing going on with the naming. But let's get back over to our side of the world, north of you. You're always looking for information on this place. Nahanni Valley.
Yes.
According to English Adventurer, I knew you'd be bummed out about this.
Hold on, let me fist pump here a couple of times. We got 7 minutes, Duke.
According to English adventurer Michael H. Mason in his 1924 book, The Arctic Forest, the Gwich'in of Peel River Country in northern Yukon, described the Nahanni, or the Mahoney as they call them, as, quote, terrible wild men with red eyes and of enormous height, completely covered with long hair. Their tremendous size was attested to by the 3-foot-long human-like footprints that they left in their wake, as well as their alleged ability to tear entire birch trees from the earth with their bare hands, roots and all. Similarly, Philip Gottsel, who spent much time around the campfire of the Slavey and Casca during his years as an inspector for the Hudson's Bay Company, described the Nahanni as troglodytes twice the size of ordinary humans who went about naked save for a coating of evil-smelling hair. And now let's go back quickly on the two things that we just brought up here. One was the birch trees. If you go further east from there, you run into a land where the Indian tribe calls them the Gilyuk, which translates to the big man with the little hat. And they say that the Gilyuk tear the top off the birch trees and eat them. And interestingly, the bark of the birch tree acts in the same way as aspirin does. So maybe the reason that one is going on. Now, he also mentions that the natives of Slavey Lake have some very bad impressions of these guys. And although he doesn't go into too much detail here now, there's a whole bunch of information on them and legends for years and years and years of they wouldn't live on shore because of what they called, quote, the enemy, unquote. And they thought as long as they were on one of the islands out on the lake, they were just fine. Now, it wasn't until fairly recently that they started living on shore again. And it was assumed that they were just telling stories about this, that this is, like one of their local legends or something. So they went and did some research and archaeological digging on one of these islands they claimed they had been living on to avoid, quote, the enemy, unquote. And not only did they find out they had a village there, they had had a village there for at least 150 years. So why to go to all that trouble to live on that island out in the lake from some imaginary thing they're calling, quote, the enemy, unquote. So this sort of thing goes through that whole band of upper Canada and all the way over into eastern Alaska, where these kind of reports come out. For example, an article entitled Cursed Treasure of Dead Man's Valley, published in June 1968 issue of the magazine Saga, maintained that the Nahanni, or the Nakoni as the author called them, were, quote, hairy demons who stand as high as a Kodiak bear, are as swift as a bird in flight, and kill all things they can reach by cutting off their heads. Their skin is so tough that a bullet will not penetrate it, and cutting it with a knife is more difficult than cutting stone. Again, the Casco Slavey and Mountain Indians of the Mackenzie country, which is right up there where the Nahanni is, long maintained that the Nahanni Valley was the domain of the Nahanni, and that these fearsome monsters resided within its foreboding caves and canyons. This belief is attested to by the region's toponymy, according to the Dene language expert Alan Adam. Excuse me. I page down here a bit. Na-a-a-di, an old native word for the South Nahanni River, means, quote, river of giants, unquote. The Nahanni were by no means confined to these remote mountain hideaways. Many of these monsters tirelessly traversed the subarctic forests in search of prey, often traveling extraordinarily long distances without stopping for food or rest, usually alone. Natives all over the Northland, from the coastal regions of Alaska to the forests of the Yukon, lived in almost perpetual fear of them, as it seems the tribes around the Nahanni Valley had, because at one point they were living further into the valley, and they kept moving further from it. And again, this is, you can do the archaeology on this, and apparently their settlements have been getting further from the valley over time, not closer to it. Like there's something that lives in that valley that they don't want to be anywhere near it.
No.
Nahanni attacks occurred almost exclusively during the spring, summer, and early autumn. The subarctic winter, on the other hand, though dark, miserable, and bitterly cold, was mercifully devoid of these dreaded encounters. Where the Nahanni retreated to during the winter months was a mystery to the Dene. Some said they retired to carefully concealed burrows that they dug from the permafrost, where they spent the winter hibernating like bears. Others claim that they migrated south to a place where their kind were more numerous. Nowadays, we know that there are big sections of that valley that are geothermally heated and that have natural cave systems in them. Mystery solved.
I don't know about this one, man. This one scares me. I mean, would I go in there looking for it, Duke? Of course I would. I'm stupid that way.
I don't know if I would either. I had a friend that almost ended up growing up there. They were just getting ready to move there when they banned it to people moving in. They had been planning to be there the year before. If they had, they would have been actually living there when she grew up. And, thankfully that didn't happen. And one more thing before we run out of time here. They say when an Akani targeted a particular camp, it took up residence in the trees just beyond the light of the campfire and waited. Sometimes it taunted its intended victims by throwing rocks or sticks at them. Sound familiar? It also, on occasion, emitted strange whistling sounds or noises resembling human laughter, like they recorded on the Umatilla Indian Reservation. Often it would slip into camp in the middle of the night and steal food, typically fish, either from drying racks or smokehouses, or destroy fish nets and other equipment. Legend has it the purpose of the Nakani's visit was twofold. Its primary objective was stealing women. Girls who strayed too far from camp, especially at dawn or dusk, were in serious danger of being abducted and drug away from into the woods, never be seen again. The other motivation that drew these monsters to the naked camps was sustenance. It afforded the opportunity that they would snatch children and lone hunters and carry them off in the woods, where, according to legend, it would devour them.
Duke, let's continue this conversation when we return from the break. I know we're going to try and get to the Magic 8 Ball. It's feeling kind of weird here. It's like it doesn't want to work tonight. But we'll try and get some of that in. But I want to continue with the Nahanni Valley because this is a story that I think intrigues every Sasquatch cryptid hunter out there. Going into an area where monsters will literally rip your head off just because it's a Sunday afternoon and they can. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube continues with us on the Cryptid Report right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Hot damn, man, I love this story. You're just... oh...
It's hard to get information on that valley. They kind of tried their best to hide it. And what you got to do is get the reports from the Indian tribes that live around it and then put those together to figure out what's going on.
Oh, I can see that. I can totally see that.
Now, that's one of those weird parts where it's like gigantic and it's all been mapped from air. And like for some peculiar reason, they won't let tourists just wander around randomly in it. You got to tell them where you're going to be, and certain areas you can't go to no matter what. And
well, let's chat about that when we get back.
All right, let me step out here for a second.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll mute myself until I get back.
I can mute you here. I got you muted. God, I love the Nahanni Valley. It's just scaring the shit out of me. Yes. I want to go there. What a great night of radio tonight. Honestly. Hi, Kaiju. How you doing? What a good night. What a good night. Fabster, we'll go with you, buddy. We will go with you. Let's take a quick look here at what's happening in Namibia. Nothing. Right when the sun came up, there was zebras. The zebra was around. Nothing right now, though. Except birds. I would deal with haunted dolls over sharks each and every time. Look at D.A. Roberts still rocking in the chat room right now. Oh, yeah. Always haunted dolls over sharks. Imagine if Bigfoot showed up at the Namibia watering hole. That would be cool. Don't even see any animals in the background here. I'm looking. Nothing's really approaching right now. Nothing to report. Been a while since I had something around there. See if I can find the zebra. We'll keep an eye out, don't worry. Yeah, nope, Grandpa Holland, that shit'll kill you. Even the toy sharks will hurt you. What do you say there, Super Duke? Look at that man. The myth, the legend, all rolled into one.
The lunatic that has Bigfoot following him around and still keeps going back to the same place so they can do it again. And I got one of those videos coming out tomorrow night at a special time, 7 Central. It's about 15 minutes long, and it's another one where I was digging through old video from last summer, and apparently there was more of them watching me, so did a breakdown on it. Y'all can check it out for yourselves and decide what you think. Mm-hmm. One of them is, for my money, one of them is very clearly Squatchlet watching me. The other ones you can debate all day long. And of course they're behind me.
All right.
No, they couldn't be in front of me.
Duke, we got 5 seconds here, so I'll get you to hold on right there, my friend. And we will continue on here with the Nahanni Valley. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Can be found on YouTube and many other sites. Duke, right before the break, we were talking about the Nahanni Valley up in the Northwest Territories of Canada, where literally there are these man-eater type of cryptid creatures that seem to live in this area, to the point where the locals don't even allow people to go in there.
Nope. Well, it's forestry. It's the government that has control of it that's limiting who can go in there. There's like one area where you can do a tour of the part of the Mackenzie River do like a canoe trip or a raft trip down it or something. And they've got designated spots where you can pull out and camp overnight, and that's it. You're not allowed to be anywhere else. And they're usually mysteriously where there's a huge cliff right behind you, and you're on a little peninsula that can't be reached by land otherwise.
What's interesting to me is I heard a story that there was a film company that wanted to go into this area, and they had 1 hour. They were given 1 hour in there. The helicopter drops them off, takes off, does this circle, and before these guys have even got going, helicopter lands again and says, get in.
That was the story I related. Yep.
That's right. Tell us that story.
One of my friends that's been on my show had a friend who's a geologist, and she wanted to go in. She knew about the thermally heated, the geothermal stuff in the valley, and wanted to go see it. And she, first of all, found out she couldn't get anybody to take her into the valley. And she finally managed to convince somebody, and he wanted like $3,000 to helicopter them in for 15 minutes and then fly them back out again, which he still accepted. And apparently she had a couple of friends with her, which were also geologists, and wanted to take a look at it. And they were female. And one of them thought it would be cool just in case it was like warming up, they could skinny dip in the pool or something. So they're all ready to do that. But he said he was not going to be gone for more than 15 minutes. He would just circle around and then come back and pick them up again when the time was up. And he no sooner dropped them off on the ground and started to pull away than they started hearing screams and roars from the mountainside adjacent to where they were coming in their direction. And apparently he immediately circled around and came down and picked them up again. And when they got in, they were pretty terrified, and they were, like, thank you for coming back. Why did you come back so soon? And he's like, I saw something. And they said, what'd you see? And he said, I'm not interested in talking about it. And that was it. He just clammed up.
My goodness. What do you think?
But one of the rules they have is that they won't even, if you can get a copter to fly you in there, they don't want to get within 100 feet of the ground for some peculiar reason.
What do you think that helicopter pilot saw?
I think he saw exactly what was coming down to grab those girls, and he decided he better loop around and pick them up, or he was going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Give us a description of what these creatures are, Duke.
Well, nobody knows for sure. We're just guessing it's a more savage than usual tribe of Sasquatch because they match a description of general Sasquatch all over the continent. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Some of them are more crabbier. A lot of the ones that are out in the middle of nowhere, they're out in the middle of nowhere because they don't like humans. These ones have never really had that much contact with humans, and apparently they don't like them. And as far as them being man-eaters, that comes from tribes outside the valley. Inside the valley, they basically say they just rip your head off. And, hence the reason why when the prospectors were in there, they kept coming back and finding there's their body, but there's no head. They never find the heads. Well, they're head hunters. And then there's two different things going on in the valley that are confusing because apparently there was a very antique, weird tribe there called the Naha. And the Naha are described more like Neanderthals that wear like antique, think of like Greek age armor and weaponry. Nothing like what the natives in North America were using. And they were extremely ferocious and dangerous too. And that's another reason most of the normal tribes didn't want to live in the valley, because apparently those guys were there in addition to the Nikani. And then there's like 3 or 4 other really nasty Ice Age cryptids that might still exist there because there's reports of them have come out of the area within 100 years, up to our present time, maybe back up to 200 years ago. Things like the Wahila dire wolves. There's been sightings of apparently woolly mammoths, cave bears, things like that. And it is interesting to note that this valley, according to modern science, wasn't glaciated during the last 3 million years. So there could possibly be life as old as going back to 3 million years ago, which includes a lot of the big Ice Age monsters that used to be running around the North American continent.
Right. So with that, the fact that there could be something more out there, and I've never heard of, I've heard of woolly mammoths potentially still being alive in the Siberia region of Russia, but I've never heard of woolly mammoths still being part of in Nova Scotia, or not Nova Scotia, Northwest Territories, so to speak.
Yeah, well, you know how well-traveled the NWT is also. At one point it was presumed that bison were extinct, until they found a whole herd of woodland bison about 40 miles outside of a big city up there in Canada, because they had a bad storm and they had to take a different flight path, and they were close enough to the ground that the people looking out the side were going, "What are those things down there?" I don't know. Well, at forestry, come back and check it out. Yeah, well, it was bison. You guys had a whole herd of bison up there you didn't even know about. What else could be up there?
Well, I'm not saying that, anywhere 100 miles north of the border, that's where it starts to get very, very thin, in population. So, the animals do rule the roost in that area. That is very true in regards to it. But, I mean, could this be like, for instance, in India, there's an island out there just off the coast of India where nobody is allowed, no humans are allowed to travel, because they have an agreement with the natives on that island that are literally headhunters, and they have decided that they do not want to, assimilate with the modern movement of humankind. Could it be possible that, even though it's unknown, that there is still a tribe of ancient people there living their own lives?
It wouldn't surprise me. It couldn't be a gigantic tribe, but there could certainly be a smaller tribe that could be doing that. Because if they're used to that sort of environment, they've got places underground that geothermally heated, that they can stay warm during the winter. The valley itself, there's parts of it that are geothermally heated. The other native tribes long ago left the area due to fear of them and the other things that lived there. If they don't want to be found, you would think that they would have pretty much the wherewithal to not be found. I know there's another tribe that lives on an island where people have actually tried to contact them several times, and they're just so hostile, they just shoot you full of arrows every time you get near the island. So they pretty much just gave up on it. There isn't even an agreement with them. They know we exist. They just won't let us land on their island, so they haven't been contacted.
Right. So do you think then that this is more cryptid than human?
I think there's multiple things going on up there. The Nakani sound to me like what they are is just one of the variations of the gigantic Sasquatch that live up there that are a little more hostile than usual. The Naha tribe, I don't know what to make of that. There hasn't been an actual sighting that I know of any of those guys for about 150 years. But then again, like I said, the local tribes have all been moving progressively further from the valley, so maybe they're just not encountering them. As far as the other Ice Age monsters, most of those descriptions don't come from the local tribes. They come from the white explorers that were in the area. They were seeing these weird things going, what the bleep is that? Like the Partridge Creek monster. I should probably do that one on Thursday. There's another one that's like so far-fetched, you're just going, what the bleep is this? But multiple people have seen it and found its tracks and whatnot too. So, very strange.
Well, I'm just so confused by this area. I mean, dude, I seriously wanted to I would love to go up there. I really, really would. I mean, that area also has, throughout the territories, has a lot of Wendigo sightings as well. And maybe even, I'm not so sure about the skinwalkers, but Wendigos I know have been spotted up there as well. Could this what we be dealing with in the Nahanni Valley is Wendigos?
Well, the other thing you got to keep in mind is if there's some ancient primitive tribe there, there's no guarantees of what kind of weird social systems or religion they're following. They could all just be, totally black magicians or something that are summoning all kinds of diabolical paranormal stuff to do their bidding. So you have no idea unless you know what the locals are up to. One thing that I do know from my inside sources, somebody specifically that met Phil Schneider, because they were involved in that whole line of things, that apparently there is an underground base underneath Nahanni Valley, which could be part of the reason why they don't want people in parts of that valley. And that could also explain weird cryptids appearing, because they could be having something to do with it, either testing on them or modifying things.
Portals?
Haven't heard anything specifically about portals up there.
Interesting. I'd never heard the woolly mammoth. I want to get back to that for a quick second. I'd never heard about the woolly mammoth up there, still potentially being alive.
There's actually been tribes up in the, I want to say, northeastern side of Alaska that have reported actually fairly recent sightings. There was one that brought in some really fresh, somebody had asked them, because, they find the tusks of the mammoths up there all the time. Find me some mammoth tusks and bring them in. And he brought in these mammoth tusks, and the guy looked at him and he went, there's still meat hanging on these. Where did you get these from? And kind of put some pressure on him. The guy admitted that they had seen a small herd of them and actually shot 2 of them. And they ate all the meat and everything, and they brought the tusks back because, hey, this guy wants to buy a tusk from us. Yeah. So that's where he said they came from. Well, tusks fresh enough that they still got meat hanging on them. Where'd they get those?
And how long ago was that?
Oh, geez, 100, 150 years ago.
Oh, so not that long.
No, recently. There's been other reports that have come out since then of, people citing like 1 or 2 of the things walking around, but everybody always discounts them as, nah, you're crazy, you're imagining things, you're seeing something, whatever. I mean, if there were any up there, one would expect that it would be a low population. There couldn't be very many of them.
Right. I mean, do you think, though, like, that potentially something like the woolly mammoth is still alive on this planet?
I don't know, but if it isn't, they're going to be bringing one back shortly because they got the DNA and they're already working on it. Several countries are already working on it, so that one's fairly easy. You've still got, living elephants that you can use as incubators for the baby mammoths, and only take you 2 or 3 generations, you'll have a pretty much purebred mammoth again.
See, the mammoth and the thylacine, or the Tasmanian tiger, I still think there are small pockets out there. We don't do a lot of investigation in the high north because of the climate, because of the weather and everything along those lines, Duke. And I think there's a good chance of that. And recently, as in within the last 10 years, there have been video sightings of what looks to be thylacine running around Australia.
Absolutely. Local TV show host down there in Australia, very well-known celebrity down there, Gary Opet, has actually had 2 sightings of his own. And he's a naturalist. He's like the, kind of a Steve, what was his face? The crocodile hunter type guy.
Steve Irwin,
only less crazy than Steve. And that's the kind of stuff he does. He runs around in the field and looks for this kind of stuff. And he's had 2 thylacine sightings. So he's absolutely convinced there still are some running around out in the bush. And again, they just announced like a week or so ago that they were going to actually take, because they've still got remains of the last, thylacines, they're going to take DNA from them and make more thylacines. So whether there's some in the bush or not, soon there will be.
Well, I mean, if there are thylacines out there, and we do create some, I mean, this could, help spark finding maybe a remote or a very light population of these creatures to come back out in the public.
Yeah, if they can replicate them even on the limited basis that they're only working off one genetic sequence, so they haven't got a whole lot of variation in it, even adding that back into the wild, assuming it ever runs into one of the wild ones, would no doubt be helpful. In keeping them in existence, assuming that they still do. But I don't find that one that... Actually, I've seen a couple of pictures in the last 2 years where they're not bright enough that you can see the marking on the animal, so you can't see the pattern on it, which they've got good pictures of thylacines when they were still alive, so they know what that looks like. And you can't really tell because it's not close enough, but the general shape of the animal is identical to what a thylacine is supposed to look like.
Quick question here, as we only got about a minute left. From Kaiju, do you think there are still dinosaurs out there?
I think in the Congo there still are, to be honest with you. And one of the guys whose very thick book I hold up earlier, Ivan T. Sanderson, he was over there I believe back in the late 50s, doing research on Mkele Mbembe. And they found gigantic tracks. They were like 3 feet across. So you explain what animal made those. And the natives told them it was Mkele Mbembe. So I tend to believe it because the Congo is absolutely enormous. And there's been in constant warfare, and there's not really good roads going in there. So nobody's going in there doing research. Too dangerous.
All right, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube. Thank you so much for another great report.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night. See you in a couple days.
All right, let's get to Shirky Poo's news. Let's kick it off right off the bat. I don't know if you've been following the war between Russia and Ukraine very closely, but there is a weird story coming out of there. Apparently, a Russian reporter, a Ukrainian reporter, says a UFO swooped in to save Ukrainian troops from approaching Russian tanks in a miracle lightning attack, according to the correspondent. Even more bizarre on all of this is the mystery strike from the sky was supposedly an act of God as the families of Ukrainian forces prayed for help. Yeah, CBN News' Ukraine director, Konstantin Litvinenko, made the claim, speaking on the channel's Global Lane program. Litvinenko explained that one of his countrymen rang his father in the dead of night from the front line, terrified as Vladimir Putin's forces approached. The father then prayed for help with members of the church, and they eventually came from out of this world. Yeah. Litvinenko says his father was saying that his son was part of the military. In the dark of night, they were holding their positions and discovered that a lot of Russian Federation tanks and machines were coming at them. He picks up his phone, says, "Dad, you have to pray right now. We're in a situation." The father rings other members of his church. They start praying. Sometime later, the son allegedly rang his father again. He says some miracle happened. It looked like some spaceship. There was an attack from a spaceship. There was some kind of lightning shooting from the sky, and sparks were spreading everywhere. Then in the morning, they discovered the whole machinery was destroyed. All of those soldiers thought maybe it had been done by some weapon we didn't know about, or it was just God's intervention. Amazingly, Litvinenko revealed that this mystery attack isn't the only example of God answering Ukrainian prayers and acting against Russian forces. He went on to describe how a friend was praying for Russians to turn themselves in, only for that to happen. Divine intervention. God loves the Ukraine. Let me tell you that. An Australian surfer, here we go again. Here we go again. People, you just don't learn. Yeah, Australian surfer returned to shore uninjured after an encounter with a shark that left a nice big-sized bite in his board. The surfer, who was not identified, was in the water in around Maroubra Beach when his board was bumped by the shark. The surfer returned to shore, found that the shark had left a nice bite mark in the board. Lifeguards patrolled the area and confirmed there was a shark swimming nearby. The species, though, has not been identified. And, of course, the city council said all local beaches were closed temporarily to protect swimmers and surfers. Look, just a month ago, dude got mauled, okay? Dead. They found pieces of his body floating. You don't need any more evidence than that. Stay out of the ocean, people. Stay out. It's their territory. Let them live. A Playboy model who married herself is now getting a divorce so she can enjoy partying as a single woman. Yeah, Chris Galleria, who's from Sao Paulo, Brazil, now lives in London, decided to marry herself after becoming disappointed with her relationships. She took part in a ceremony in August last year. Speaking for the first time, she said, "I reached a point where I matured. I realized that I am strong and a determined woman. I was always afraid of being alone, but realized that I needed to learn how to feel good about myself. When that happened, I decided to celebrate it by divorcing myself." And finally tonight, Florida man, you don't disappoint. Florida man was crushed to death by a bulldozer last week while he was using a porta-potty. 40-year-old Aaron Henderson was killed when he was working as a traffic control contractor. Decided that he had to go feed the Biffy when all of a sudden the bulldozer came along and made it a really dirty situation. You can't make this up. The freak accident occurred as workers at the site were getting ready to put away their equipment and shut down the facility. The bulldozer operators started driving up an embankment to park for the night when he went right over the porta-potty, killing Mr. Aaron. That's a Real crappy way to go, isn't it? Thank you to Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, Shirky Poo for the news, Swamp Dweller for the spooky story, and D.A. Roberts and Nick Valente coming on in and rocking us out with some Dogman. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
We could tell you exactly why Bombas socks, t-shirts, and underwear are so comfortable. We could talk about our soft fabrics, or how we donate one item for every item you buy. But we think our customers said it best. So we hired some professional voice actors to read real customer reviews.
Bum diggities on my piggies.
It's like being hugged by an angel.
I borrowed a pair from my son and didn't want to give them back.
Give an item when you buy an item and get 20% off your first purchase at bombas.com/comfy. That's BOMBAS.com/comfy.